Better hurry, spark it open, no worries. Harmonious gang with the big bro Yuriy, hyphy. Get lit just like me, big bossed up, chop it up with Rylee. You better come with it to kick rocks, cause you now tuned in to 10 Talks. Now let's get lifted and take a shot, you are now tuned in to 10 Talks.
Yo, what's up, guys?
Hello, everybody.
It's probably so loud. We have to wait till the music fades out. They probably can't even hear us. Okay.
I like it.
Like
It
the
sounds
stream facts.
good.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me put that away before I get distracted. All right, boom. We are here for episode 89 of 10 Talks with a very, very special guest. We have Trap Laura Ross here today.
Yes.
Dude, thank you so much for spending
Right.
some of your
Thank
time in
you.
Let's go.
in LA with spending one of your days with us. I really appreciate it, dude.
I'm hyped to be here, man. I'll do anything. I'm desperate for companionship.
Oh my god. You're just sitting
Well, we're
in your
glad
hotel.
to have you on.
I know. I'm super glad to have you on.
I've just been in the hotel all day waiting for Poetik Flakko to reply to me.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
God.
Man, am I gonna get to
Dude, you and Poetik Flakko will be fucking interesting, dude. I feel like that. Have you talked to him in person yet?
Not in person. No. We're gonna hopefully get something cracking.
Oh
soon.
my god,
Yes,
dude.
that'll be
And,
a really good
I
conversation.
think it's gonna be very interesting.
No, I 100% agree. Poetik Flakko is very opinionated and has a lot of proof usually, or just he speculates a lot as well.
Sometimes, sometimes, bro.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be interesting to see the both of you like sit down and talk, because I feel like you usually come with like cold hard facts of just like, this is something I read, you know what I mean, or whatever it is.
I
But
feel like there's two approaches, right? There's sort of like the academics approach of just like what's going on right now, like get the most up to date, like the news, like the breaking news. Maybe it's not always completely accurate. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
they're getting the stuff right now, whereas me, you know what I'm saying, I'll take like a whole month to just learn everything. But I just feel like there's very important aspects of both approaches. So
no, yeah, exactly. It's like the speculation, not speculation thing, but just being the person to be first on is definitely like super good for you and like, you know, whatever brand you're working with or whatever it is. But then also it's always more respectable at the end of the day. Not to say Flacco's not respectable, but I'm saying it's always more respectable to give it some time and then be like, okay, now I have the full story, the whole you know, all the information here to start with.
So you would say one of your videos usually takes like a month of research?
these days, yeah, usually about a
Jeez.
month. Like I'm trying to speed that up at the moment, but the videos just keep getting longer and longer. But like that's the thing, you know, it's like we were just saying, it's kind of like, you know, the news versus the history. I
Right.
think with my approach, I just have to take like a lot of time to go over things that have happened and just like try and really get to the root of like what's gone on. But man, I mean, I'm plugged into like what Flakko and Ak are posting constantly, bro. I'm just eating up hip hop news constantly.
No,
Right.
same.
I'm plugged in.
Wait, so if you're taking a month to like research topics, are you like doing like 5 days a week, 4 days a week, or 7 days a week at like, you know, this amount of hours? So like, how many hours a day are you putting into if you're doing a month of research?
Man, to be honest, bro, it really depends. But like sometimes I can just be working like all day, every day. If it's a serious story that's like long and I'm getting super into it, I'm gonna just go 7 days. Just whenever I'm awake and I got spare time, I'll just be
Oh,
working,
shit.
researching. But then also like now I got, you know, a few more people working for me. You know, it's almost like I got to spend time like managing the team, like doing business stuff, a lot of like admin, just like managing what goes on, managing the channel, and like
I see.
there's a lot that goes into it. But man, I'm a workaholic. I just love working. I love researching these stories, and like
So
it's
if-
a blessing.
If you had like a 5 hour, if you're going to interview make a video about some person and you had like a 5 hour interview to get through, would you send it to one of your workers and be like, hey
Pull
man,
whatever.
go through this 5 hours of stuff and tell me the most important information in this whole thing?
That I do like. That's a new thing to me. Like I only got
Okay.
a researcher like a month ago, maybe 2 months ago now.
That's what it's called,
And
researcher.
I'm kind of blessed that I can do that. Like I've been doing this big Mo3 story, and it's just like I've been watching hours and hours of interviews with like all, you know, Mo3, all people in the Dallas rap scene. But like every now and then, like another interview pops up, or even with this, like a lot of, you know, there's been a lot of like recent interviews with people coming out, and it's like, damn, 2 hour interview just drops. Don't quite have time for this right now.
Right.
Send it to my guy Sam to have a look through. But up until recently, man, I'd just be watching. If there was a 5 hour interview to be watched, I'd be sat there watching it,
Jeez.
like going in.
I-
Maybe at double speed. You know what I'm saying? There's a little,
Oh,
little
okay, I
hack
feel that.
for the you know. It's just like anything that you can do to save time if that's what you're doing. Like a 5 hour interview, watching on double speed with the subtitles, like that's a little superpower.
Yeah, exactly. No, 100%. I didn't realize that like people actually did that until I started watching. Until I saw a couple PewDiePie videos where he was reacting to shit, and I realized that he reacts to stuff at 2-3 times speed. I'm like, that makes fucking sense. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to sit there and just be like waiting for all the like, I don't know, like all the dull moments and stuff like that. But do you ever feel like you, because you're so knowledgeable on like hip hop news and certain artists or whatever, like you would notice certain things in an interview or think of certain questions from watching the interview that other people would not notice, and you kind of putting the faith in them that like, I hope he doesn't, you know, skip over or like, you know, overhear some like really important piece of information and come back to me with like Mo3 likes the color blue instead of like, you know, some deep cut Mo3 fucking thing.
It's a really good point. That is actually an issue we've kind of had, and I think I'm learning a lot through working with somebody in this way. Like my process is definitely getting better, and I think what I've learned is it's like there's no way that I can just be like, yo, go and watch all the Mo3 interviews and just write the whole thing for me and don't miss anything. That's really just not possible. So I guess my process more recently has almost been like, I'll get a story started, I'll maybe watch like some of the key interviews, songs, albums, whatever that I think are like really important, and then once it gets to that point where it's like I kind of know what the story is, like I've built the structure of the story, but there might be 50 hours of interviews to watch.
Jeez.
You know, I've been splitting that up, like making a list for my team or for my researcher to just be like, yo, here's like 10 interviews for you to go and watch. Like, here's kind of what we're looking for. Like, here are the key angles. But it's like, without that guidance, I think it just would be, it would be really hard. So it's almost like I'm kind of keeping track. I'm like keeping control of the research process. But like someone is kind of looking for things for me.
I kind of noticed that with commentary YouTube channels and just like kind of documentarian YouTube channels, kind of like yours, where it's like it's one thing just to be like, you know, presenting the facts or the information, but then also I've noticed this other thing that Sunny V2 does, which is like he'll portray a narrative and like bring up, you know, all these like clips and like video evidence or whatever to push that, not, you know, like whatever narrative, not like narrative in a bad way, but more like he sees a storyline and he'll show you guys exactly
from his perspective.
Exactly. It's almost like watching a movie at the end of the day, where like if it were not for him, like kind of putting all that information together and like, you know, narrating it in a certain way, it's like you would not have seen that perspective almost. So it's almost kind of like being a director. Or
it's like every documentary is pretty much like that, right? The director of the documentary is going to control the narrative of whatever they want the subject to look like.
Exactly.
I think I'm just beginning to like realize how important that is. Working with other people, because when I'm doing it on my own, it's almost like I kind of take for granted the fact that like I might watch, you know, 30 interviews with like an artist about a story and like form my opinion and kind of construct the story. But when I'm just doing it all myself, it's like I don't really sit down and break down like I would when I'm with someone else. Like, okay, well, this is the beginning. Like, this is why this story is important. Like, this is what we're looking for. Like, you know, if you know, for example, it's like, yo, go away and watch these 10 interviews, but it's not just write everything down. It's like, watch these interviews and we're really looking for background on like, you know, for example, like his upbringing, like why he ended up in these difficult situations, for example. Say.
Exactly.
It's like I need like focus on those sorts of things, like, you know, difficulties somebody's had in the past, maybe, or even vice versa. It's like, yo, maybe it's just we're doing like a later stage story. It might be like, yo, we need anything that's like success, like anywhere this artist talks about like the amount of money they were making. You know what I mean? So it really depends. And like you say with Sunny V2, it's like I think a lot of the skill, I guess, comes into deciding what the story is. Like, what is this even about? Is it about the success? Is it about like the grimy, messed up stuff, the scandal, or like, you know, maybe a romance, like whatever it might be? Yeah.
Now you're like, I feel like now you're developing like even more skills, as where like it used to be just you developing this whole story and finding the information for the story. Now I feel like you're developing another skill where you have to portray to another person what to look for and how you want this thing to go. So it's like, that's a whole nother fucking skill set. You know what I mean? Of like kind of showing someone how to do something, or what, you know, why you want it done a certain way. So would you say like you care about like what's popular, like what people want to hear about right now, or do you mostly go into like stories that just interest you? Like, because since you say that you take like a month to develop a story for your channel, I feel like there's so much hip hop news always getting like put out there. Are you more into like just like what's interesting to you, or what's popular and could get more attraction?
I think it's like finding a balance between the two, because it has to be a story I'm personally interested in and like inspired by, to be able to even spend a month like looking at this same stuff.
Right. Exactly.
But at the same time, it's like, you know, I am trying to cover the stories that people are the most interested in, like not to chase the views necessarily, but like I want to create stories that have an impact of like, you know, whatever the conversation is in hip hop at the moment. Like I want to be not necessarily a part of that, but like, you know, put my view of it across, like my opinion, like my take on it across. And you probably know, like if you put out some video that didn't really have to do much with what the fuck is going on, your audience is going to be telling you like, you know, this is an ass video, you should have covered this, or whatever it is. Like, you know what your audience wants to hear, or what like people in general on YouTube or in the internet, you know, would like to hear. I kind of know now. I feel like there was a period of time, maybe a year or two ago, where it was sort of like I was doing a lot more just like short little stories, and that was I was a bit more like chasing the news. And I think looking back, I feel like those are some of the worst stories I've done, where I'm just kind of like, oh, you know, this album's out. Like, let me quickly like tell this guy's story and then kind of like talk about the album, or like, yeah, you know, I think some of the best stuff I've done have been not necessarily current stories, but like history pieces that relate to stuff that's going on today. You know, it's like maybe, I don't know, you know, maybe Jay-Z's in the news for whatever reason, but it's like telling a really interesting piece of history that like tells you about Jay-Z's character and his story.
Exactly.
Might be a good way to go. I mean, this last story that I did, this Ralo, like the Atlanta sort of big drug dealer rise and fall story, he's not really like hyper relevant now, but at the same time, we're going through this big age of like people kind of snitching on themselves on social media.
Exactly.
People doing things.
And it was a big deal when he went to jail. Everyone was like shocked, but not shocked at the same time. You know what I mean? It was a thing where they were like, it was cool that he wasn't in jail doing the things and talking about the things he is. But then once he gets locked up, you're like, oh, not surprised, because he talks about this all the time.
It's funny though, like, you know, that story, and even just what you're saying, it's like, it's so easy to like feel like you're untouchable, and it's just like,
especially when you're that rich.
Well, that's the thing, but it's like you can't be. I'm not just talking about him, but it's just like people doing crime, like getting rich off crime. You can't. There's like so few examples of people that do that and then like ride off into the sunset. You know, like
you're not going to hear their names. That's what I always think about too. Is like the people who are really ultra successful criminals. If you're an ultra successful criminal, no one should know your name. You should have no fame. You should have no infamy. You should have done your thing, and then it's just a mystery. You know, things have been stolen, things are gone, and all of a sudden that's it. You know, no one knows anything. So it's just like when you actually know, when you're infamous for being that type of person, it's like you're already fucking up. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if you're the killer or the stealer or whatever it is, the scammer, it's like you done fucked up already, dude, because people look at you that way. You know?
It's funny because it's like everybody now the big hustle and the big money maker is social media success and fame, right? But you have these different people from different kind of like walks of life, whether it's drug dealing, I mean there's, you know, street violence, gangs and stuff like that, but I think everybody's just trying to like capitalize off of that past for social media fame, which is like legit success. But if you're a drug dealer and you then move into social media fame, you don't just erase your past, you know, like with the Ralo story, it's like all that stuff he did came back to haunt him, you know, even though he had gone clear and was like doing the right thing. So, and you know, these stories, like I say, that story is not super relevant this second, but I think like the message behind it is like super relevant. There's this whole scam wave going on. You know,
you heard of a Hushpuppi, right? Or what's
Ray Hushpuppi.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been meaning to do that story too, but I haven't quite got around to it yet.
Dude, I looked into, well, I forgot who, someone posted a video about it, like his like story a little bit more, and that shit's genuinely super interesting. Like, yes, if you go off just the headlines right now, scammer stole millions of dollars, he's an asshole, whatever it is. But if you look into his story, he was born in like a third world country, super dirt poor, no money, no type of, you know, opportunities at all. He learned how to be a scammer and basically scammed his way to fucking private jets and Bentleys. It's just like, that's actually really cool and crazy, but he's in jail forever basically. So
I mean, it's that kid, right?
To borrow
someone else.
To borrow a phrase from the guy everyone hates, Andrew Tate, like this guy Hushpuppi did kind of break the matrix. You know what I mean? Like you have these people, whether it's a scammer or, I mean, in a way, I think a lot of drill rappers, people like King Von, they sort of like break the matrix or like break the rules of society, you know, whether it's like you're scamming millions of dollars or getting away with murder, like kind of these things shouldn't be allowed to happen, and then they happen, and then they become this social media for like spectacle. But it seems like once it gets big on social media, the cops or the powers that be or the enemies, whatever it is, like it's gonna end badly. So, you know, clout kills, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
And also, I feel like most of the time, like, you know, those rappers that are in those shoes, they don't like, they're not mature enough to even understand like how lucky and privileged of a position this is, like how small of a chance it is for you to get into these shoes. And like, if you really understood those like statistics of like, wow, I'm like 1 in a million people to fucking actually get into these shoes, I should really not fuck this up. It's like they don't really understand that until later. They might be like, oh, I shouldn't have done that when I was younger, you know. But then also that's the thing that comes with age. Everyone fucks opportunities up when they're young. Everyone does that. It just sucks that when you're young, you have a $50 million opportunity you're throwing to waste. You know, you're like, fuck, that was super shitty of me.
That's like why the Pooh Shiesty story was like so interesting but also sad. Was that like he basically, whilst he was still out recording, and you know, Back in Blood was like one of the biggest songs in the country, he had the biggest opportunity in rap, and then, you know, unfortunately couldn't break away from his old ways of doing things, you know, shooting security guards, like running off with people's people's cash.
He
even
did
though
a
he was huge.
he did a like a burglar, or not a burglary, but a robbery with the Mclaren, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
He literally pulled up with a McLaren and stole like weed or something like from someone. It's like, you have a fucking McLaren. Dude. You know how many people have a McLaren? Like 200. It's like, why the fuck are you doing
Eyes are on
this?
you,
Let's say
bruh.
who was genuinely too shiesty for his own good.
He was.
Bruh.
Too shiesty.
Honestly, I felt like that about I feel like everyone felt like that about Kodak Black before his like multiple arrests, where everyone was just like, this kid has, the world in his hands and he just keeps wanting to go to jail. He doesn't give a fuck anymore. But now it seems like he's getting older, and now he's just like, jail's kind of whack, dude. Like, I don't want to be wasting my time in there,
I always felt like it was almost like I don't want to come across like too negative, but it was almost like a bit of a shame that he got pardoned by Trump, because it was almost like
he needed to learn his lesson.
It kind of was like a missed opportunity to learn his lesson, because he was going to come out a year later. I mean, it was dope when he came out. It was really cool. Like, hell, that's probably the best thing Trump ever did, if you ask me.
And that's honestly, that's the definition of breaking the matrix. It's like,
facts, yeah.
In the early 2000s, growing up in America, the idea of a president pardoning a rapper, especially a rapper like Kodak Black with the stuff he raps about and like, his past and all this shit, like criminal records, like that would never ever happen. The fact that happened is like literally insane. Like, do they ever actually even meet in person?
They did.
Oh, wow.
They did. There was like a little clip. I think Kodak went to Mar-a-Lago. Trump probably didn't even know. They were probably like, yo, this is the dude you pardoned. He was probably like, what?
I know.
This dude.
It's like, what
He pardoned, like, then he went on a mass pardoning before he left office, right? Like 200 people got pardoned.
Pardoned Lil Wayne as well, bro.
No,
yeah,
like that.
That
was a good move too.
I'm pretty sure, it was Lil Wayne.
Pardoned Wayne and Kodak.
Yeah.
Bro, they should have made a mixtape together called like the Trump ties.
I know, pardoned by Trump. You know what I really fuck with Kodak though is the fact that like he's been pardoned by Trump, and he's just like, I fuck with Trump to the end, guys, because guess what? He pardoned me. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's like, I feel like that's the thing that people forget about in life, which is like life is full of variables. Life is full of, subjective manners, people being biased and all that stuff. And it's just like, it's like you can't, just because all of society doesn't like someone, that doesn't mean that everyone is not gonna like him or should also follow those same rules. It's like, if I were fucking stuck in a ditch and Trump saved my life, guess what? Trump is my boy for life because he fucking done saved my life. I don't care what you guys got to say about him. He pulled me out of a ditch when I was drowning or whatever it is. It's just like, so I feel like some people can't see that shit,
Well, that's a perfect metaphor, because it's like a lot of people, especially people on the left Democrat side, and I don't really have an interest in either side, but like, it's all like, yo, Trump's so bad. Like, why do people like him? And it's like what you just said. Like, he's pulled a lot of people out of ditches. Not even like on a personal level, not necessarily on a political, ideological level. Whether you're or not, you
had nothing to
disagree.
gain from the Kodak Black thing, really.
I guess like clout. Like, even to this day, I'm like, why would he do that?
Yeah,
It makes
it's so
no
random.
sense. Like what? Like what? Maybe he's a big fan of Yak. maybe he's really.
Could you imagine Donald Trump?
I feel like it's probably his son, like Don Jr. or something, because he's like meant to be like a meme, like a real meme lord or something. He's probably like, yo, look, we're gonna pardon Yak.
I could see Biden Jr.
Come
being
on,
more
Dad.
of a fan than
I can see that
Trump
too,
Jr.
To be fair, that gives me hope, because that means that maybe we'll get a shiesty pardon. Who else could we get pardoned, man? A Melly pardon from
Oh
Biden.
shit, yeah.
And Biden will forget all about it within a day. So
No, yeah, exactly.
What about that stuff about Melly coming out about him trying to escape jail?
Okay, so
What was that about? Was that fake news?
I seen his mom basically say that, and also this is a tactic that has been used against criminals before, which is like, she's saying that, hey, his case is coming up, he's about to have a jury that's going to be like, oh, we want this guy to stay in jail or not, and she's like, they're releasing a lot of bad information against them that makes the jury be like, oh, this is some criminal kid, he deserves to stay in jail. And apparently she's like, they made that whole situation up about him, getting out of jail. They also apparently said that he called a hit on his mom at one point.
Oh yeah,
they're saying that too. Man, the amount of stuff that's been said. The thing is though, at the same time, like, I mean, if you were going to escape jail and you got caught, these are the exact things you would say. I'm okay for now.
Okay.
Maybe in a little bit. But
Okay.
like, I don't know, man.
You don't want to like make yourself look. You're gonna deny it, obviously.
Yeah,
It's
man.
like,
Like, of course, like, you're not gonna be like, yeah, we were gonna break him out. Man.
Yeah.
We fucked up. You got us. Like, but the thing with Matt and Melly, that's gonna be a huge case, bro, because it's like, there's been so much talk around it. Obviously, everyone kind of has this idea of like, basically, the whole thing is hinging on the fact that, at least what the prosecutors are saying, is that the gunshots came from inside the car, and
exactly.
they're inferring that Melly just had an argument and killed everyone in the car, or shot a bunch of people from inside the car, pretended it was a drive-by. Now, if they can prove that and that's legit, I don't really see him getting away from that. But at the same time, a lot of people beat big cases on various different things, and if Melly beats this case, man, he's probably going to be like one of the biggest artists ever.
Yeah,
I honestly
think
feel
so
like
too.
if Melly was in California when this had happened, he would be free within 5 days to a week. It's like the fact that he's out there in what is it, Florida or Texas?
Florida, right?
Yeah, Florida.
Yeah.
It's like that they're gonna take it more serious. But like, I'm not sure if you've been keeping up with what's been going on in Los Angeles, but literally there's been maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, 5 dudes ran into a jewelry store, tried to rob it unsuccessfully. Ran away because they were chased out of there. They were caught, arrested, released from prison 5 hours later, or jail 5 hours later. And I'm like, bro, how do you do a jewelry heist and get out 5 hours later? And it's because they purposely didn't have weapons on them, and they all purposely took less than $1,000 worth of stuff. So it's just like, oh, you're gonna charge with a petty crime, even though they're robbing a jewelry store.
Man,
Isn't that crazy?
They're saying this thing in, what is it, Chicago, where they're going to like have reduced...
Bro.
Oh yeah, we
For,
just talked about this.
Yeah.
That shit was, dude. Yeah, my bad. What were you gonna say?
It's like, you look at the crimes that they're doing it for, and it's like kidnapping.
Yes.
It's like,
Bro.
yo, like...
Vehicular homicide.
Mm-hmm.
And then not only vehicular homicide, it said we will not be arresting. Oh, a cop was saying this. A cop was like reading out the new declarations, and he was like reading it like pissed off. Like you could tell he did not like it, but he was saying like, guys, he's like, what you guys see is only like the surface level of like what we're not gonna arrest for. He said we're not gonna arrest for what's it called, like basically like burglaries. He was saying that if you come home and some dude's in your house and you call the cops, we're not going to come. It's up to you to choose the amount of violence you would like to use to get that person out of your house. So they're basically telling you shoot the person or have a gun or just use some sort of weapon to get people out of your house. So I was like, that's insane. But then also he said we're not going to be arresting for vehicular homicide and he specifically said no matter the severity. So you could have went back, forward, back. You could have ran over some dude 20 times and they're going to be like, yeah, nah, it's fine.
That's
You're good.
That's fucked. I mean, that's
Bruh.
like, you see, I mean, let's be real, like ISIS kind of fell off, but like back in the day they were running people over and shit. You know
No,
what I'm saying?
exactly.
Like,
What was it? Like China as well, like with the tanks. Was that China? Or was that fucking Vietnam? I don't remember. But you know what's crazy is about that Chicago shit? I forgot who posted that news, but I saw that a while ago, before all the big medias are posting Purge activate in Chicago, right? Before you saw all those posts, I talked about this on 10 Talks with Rylee, and I said, hey guys, look at these new regulations and rules. It looks like the Purge. It looks like they're not going to give a fuck no more. And I got so many comments saying, Yuri, you political idiot. You don't know how to read an article. Like, you're just reading headlines, like all this shit. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I ignored it. Guess what? A week later, everyone's posting Purge activated in Illinois, Chicago. I'm like, this is what the fuck I was saying, dude. I said the shit's going to happen, man. It said it in the fucking paperwork.
you can't win, bro. You can't win when it comes to the internet, man.
No.
If they don't want you to be right, there's no way.
Bro, I've realized that, like, you can't just, like, kind of, like, half-ass, just, like, on some stoner drunk shit, just be, like, giving political takes. Because people will be like, you fucking idiot, get the fuck out of here or whatever. It's like, it's something that I've kind of wanted to do more and more, which is just, like, fuck around with, like, political ideas and, conspiracy theories and all that stuff. But people take it so seriously and get so mad about it that I'm kind of phasing out of it a little bit.
It's high risk, man. I mean, it always makes me think of, like, H3.
Yeah.
It's like, I loved his videos when he was first doing like the sort of reactions and like.
I was
going to
ask you about this.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
sketches. I mean, he really inspired me when I used to do like sketch videos on YouTube.
Oh, really?
I was trying to be him, but like, and I still like him. I still like some of his stuff, but it's like you could see the audience kind of turn on him when he started doing the podcast and he started doing the kind of like just whatever political thing he had on his mind that day. Like not because the thing is
That's what I do.
you come up, but it's like you just come up with these like little statements. I think he was like, yeah, fuck the Catholic Church. They're all pedophiles, and it's just kind of like. It's like, that's kind of a funny thing to say in the moment.
Yeah.
But it's like, you didn't realize like 30% of the audience or
And
30% of people are just going to be completely put off by that. You're going to look dumb. And it's
It'll
like,
haunt you.
It's like if you just had 5 minutes to think about that before and you were editing a video, you'd be like, I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, exactly. You're right, dude. There's been so many times where I was like editing vlogs and I made some stupid joke and I was like, nah, that joke ain't gonna make it, dude. I'm not gonna use this one. But yeah, when you're doing a live podcast, it's way different. One thing I was gonna ask you is because you said this was your 6th time in LA.
5th or 6th, yeah.
Did you did you check in with Swifty Blue's website?
Is that do I need to check in?
Yeah, he has a website where it's like swiftyblue like check in or something like that, where you put in from your name and information in, and then you get sent a certificate of checking in.
Who is that with? The Crips? Checked in with the Crips?
No, it's the Southsiders, I believe.
Sureños.
Swifty
Southsiders.
Blues,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Because do you have to check in with everyone, or just once you're checked in with one, do they pass your information along to everyone else?
I feel like they don't disclose the full, like, how like when you sign a contract, there's always like it tells you all the information that comes with it, like all the liabilities and all that stuff. I feel like they don't disclose that part where it says like, if you check in with this group, you're good with this group, but you're not good with like the 38 other groups occupy the same area. So, you know, you might have to have 38 check-ins.
I was thinking, I'm hoping when I meet up with AD, he can check me in.
Yeah,
I wonder what that check-in would be. He'd be like, do the worm for 30 seconds. You're in. Fluffy fingers.
Do the crip walk.
Bro, this is the thing though, man. I was thinking about this, and I was like, man, do I have to check in? People talk about checking in, and it's just kind of like, I mean, like you say, you know, you kind of, this thing's kind of a joke, but it's like, yo, I feel like checking in really is like you're getting finesse. Like, what are you gonna do? Check in, give your name, address, and information, and maybe how much cash you're planning to carry with you.
Exactly.
Like, that sounds like the opposite of checking in.
No, you're getting finesse. You know what? You know, I thought about this before. Checking in is specifically for people who, okay, if you're just a person who's not famous, you know, not a rapper, and you're visiting Los Angeles, come to Los Angeles, do whatever the fuck you want, post all the videos you want, no one's gonna care. But if you're a person who has like a considerable amount of like fame on Instagram or like whatever social media platform you post about, and you're just talking about, I'm walking down Hollywood Boulevard, all that stuff, it's like you do become slightly like a target. There is gonna be the random one person who's gonna be like, I'm gonna go, you know, fucking squirt, I'm gonna go fucking throw water on, you know, Traplo Ross because it's gonna be funny because he's never in LA or whatever it is, and I know he's here on Hollywood Boulevard, and I feel like maybe checking in might help save you from that. But then even like you're saying, it's like they're not gonna be walking around you with like a security guard or whatever.
Bro, yeah, you need to check in with a genuine security firm.
No, yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying, but also, yeah, I mean, posting your location is a real bad idea.
If your check-in is like $1,000, you're better off just giving that to a security guard, telling him like, bro, follow me around for a week, please.
Yeah,
I'll give you $1,000.
Sometimes I wonder though, it's just like, you know, security, even then, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just a very paranoid person, but it's like, what if you get the wrong security who are really like the bad guys, and then they're like, oh yeah, he thinks he's getting security, but really he's getting checked.
That also happens a lot. I believe AD and Adam have like talked about this, where especially in Los Angeles, if you go to events and like you take a look at the security guards are, you know, depending on what event you're at, but there's a high chance the security guards aren't actually, you know, certified people with that have like documentation and like they've done all this shit or whatever. It's like it's usually just a big tough old dude who's who's got the strap, who's willing to stand next to you, and like, you know, that's basically usually the case.
Realistically, I think about that, man. I'm just like, yeah, I should hire security. I'm just like, is a security really going to ride out for me?
Yeah, they would, but then also it's just like, even with a security guard, it's just like, the cartel isn't after you, bro. You know, there's no assassination attempts after you. So I feel like it's like a security guard for you or something like that. Like, I feel like it would be pointless unless you're going to a place that has a lot of people there. You know what I mean? Like Hollywood Boulevard, Venice Beach, and you're like, oh, I might have like, you know, 40, 50 people running up to me, and it might be too much for me to handle myself. Like, I need someone to be pushing these people away, I guess. Like,
but again, I feel like that situation's only created if you announce like, hey guys, I'm gonna be on Venice Beach.
Oh yes,
fan love. That's when you get that you know, say op love,
aka Yuriy.
No, I was gonna ask you as well. I'm not sure if you knew or not, but maybe I thought you purposely came here during this time for a reason. But just yesterday, it was announced that it's Bad Bunny Day in Los Angeles.
Bad Money Day.
Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny Day. No, I've seen a few people talking about this on Instagram.
LA announced it, so officially yesterday was the first Bad Bunny Day, and I was like, "Is this why you came out here to celebrate the very first?"
I'll be honest, I don't really know the deal with. So Bad Bunny, is it like a Latin artist?
Yes. I haven't heard a single song. Have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know Cardi B. I like it like that.
No.
Yeah,
maybe.
You would know.
Okay.
If you heard it, you would know.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head.
I just always see like little tidbits of news of like Bad Bunny beats Drake's record for this. And I'm like, nice.
Oh, really?
He's like huge. Every girl loves him.
Dude, that's the thing with like, you know, people talk about like the Latin demographic of like, once you tap in with that, it's like they will support you like crazy because guess what? They want to listen to Spanish music.
Yeah, that's what's like, playing at the clubs,
exactly.
Like the reggaeton.
And they have a huge
music.
like clubbing scene as well, right? Like, you know, just going out and fucking having fun and all that shit.
Yep.
If 6ix9ine didn't rap in Spanish too, I think he'd be living in a tent right now.
I wonder what they think about that. Like,
so wait, why did you dress up like 6ix9ine? Because I saw your guys' pictures compared to each other.
It's a throwback. I did like maybe not right at the start, but like when I was first kind of like getting some buzz on YouTube, I did like a 6-part 6ix9ine like rise and fall. It was around the time of his trial, and I did the whole thing for like the last episode of like the trial of 6ix9ine. So I did kind of like a joke at the end where it was like, where basically I was like, I've watched so much 6ix9ine content, I've like turned into him, and then I just like did the whole video as normal, just dressed up as him, which was again, it was like a big moment for me. That was like, you know, I was kind of like already breaking out before that, but I feel like that was the time when people were like, oh, this guy's like really got something different to offer.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
6 parts. I mean, you must have went really in depth.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
I feel like, and as well, I was trying to like beat everyone to the punch because it was like I knew there was like the Hulu doc come in, there was some other documentary come in, like Adam's in one of them, and I was like,
he was like in a bunch of them.
He was in a bunch
I
of
think we watched the 6ix9ine
He was talking
one.
about this the other day. He was like, oh, X amount of 6ix9ine documentaries came out, and I'm in like 80% of them. And I was like, oh shit, that's crazy.
And no one was hating back then on just like, oh, you know, you're all monetizing this 6ix9ine content, like it's so bad. But you know, it's like it was extremely interesting and entertaining, his trial. Everyone made a documentary about it.
Right.
We all needed to know about it. And
yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
I think that content's fire. I watched all of the 6ix9ine documentaries and made my own
Yeah,
one. Like,
hell yeah.
He's one of the most interesting stories in hip hop, if not like American history. This guy.
Yeah, it's like it's so weird. It's like he made it seem like it was like purposeful and casual, but it's just like he really got lucky in a way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just like it's all these variables in life that just like you don't even know you don't even expect it to happen, but they fucking overlap on one another, and it makes, you know, certain things happen or whatever. So just like, I don't know. Whenever I look at especially internet celebrities, I always think that there's always a huge layer of just worldly luck that comes with it. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's like, you know, the people that get the luck and end up living these 1% lives. You know, 6ix9ine's life is like a 0.1%, like the fucking roll of the dice, millionth possibility that this guy would join the Bloods, end up becoming this dude. And that's why it's so interesting. You know, that's why his Breakfast Club interview has 20 million plus views, because it's like this guy is a 1 in a billion roll of the dice. Became a Blood, had rainbow hair. Shit, and it's like that's what makes it an interesting story. Like,
but he was like always like, I remember watching a couple of his interviews, and he was saying that like he was always kind of trying to become viral in some way or another. Like he was doing first he was working with Zillakami, you know, in that group, and he specifically said that he would direct the videos and tell the videographers videos, like exactly what to do, and he wanted some out of the box crazy shit. And then there's like all those old viral photos of 6ix9ine on the metro with all those like weird clothings that he would wear.
On them.
Yeah, the HIV things, right?
Yeah,
HIV positive or something like that.
Yeah, exactly, stuff like that. So it's like he was always like the person willing to fucking go, you know, above and beyond to try to go viral. So I guess it does make more sense that it happens to a person like him, you know?
Yeah. Well, he wanted it so bad, like you say. He was willing to do literally anything, walk around with shirts saying HIV positive, saying the N-word, pussy N-word, and like when he got the chance to join the Bloods for clout, he was like, hell yes.
Yeah,
you know exactly. Then he had the chance to snitch for clout.
He did.
Hell yeah. So
bro,
he's been consistent, really.
For real.
No, exactly.
No, actually, after watching the Hulu documentary, I found out so much shit I did not even know about him. Obviously, Yuri knew because...
Well, I didn't know.
You knew a lot about him, though, because,
like,
I didn't know his, like, come up, like, where he was posting those crazy videos, like, him in the diaper with, like, the shit and stuff.
Oh, yes.
I was just like, wait, what is this guy?
Okay, so one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, okay, so out here in Los Angeles and actually in America, you know, we just have this huge opiate epidemic where so many people are on drugs, especially pills, and fentanyl has had a huge, you know, effect on our, you know, like on America and all that stuff. Like the amount of people dying from fentanyl, like hugely overweighs the amount of people dying from COVID on a daily basis and shit. I want to ask you, in your area, you know, back home, like, is fentanyl an issue out there?
No, it's not. It's not as big of an issue.
Not even a little bit?
I've never heard of fentanyl in the UK at all. It probably does happen. It's not a big issue. Like here, it's like an epidemic.
Okay.
And like it's messed up. In the UK, to be honest, some people might be offended by this. We're a country of alcoholics, I would say. When COVID and the lockdowns happened, you know, it's huge rise in domestic violence, huge rise in like
same thing here, though.
Yeah. It seems like I mean, the UK historically it's just been such a like boozy country, like pub culture and that kind of thing, such a big thing. I mean, I don't drink really, but like I kind of don't have a problem with people that do drink, but I think a lot of people do drink to excess in the UK. Like binge drinking's a big thing. The opioid thing's not as much. I think more people are getting addicted to prescription pills, but it's not pushed on people like it is here. Like I don't know. From what I understand, doctors get kickbacks and stuff.
Exactly. That's a huge thing that like at least I kind of like grew this bitterness towards doctors. You know what I mean? Necessarily, which is just like I've seen it in my own family and my own friends. Like you go there, and you will tell the person, hey, I have a history of drug abuse, I can't be doing these things, and they'll be like, oh, okay, here's these Vicodins, here's these Percocets, like take 5 this a week, and you're just like, bro, like they just enable this shit constantly, they don't care.
We got a similar problem. It's not like the opioid thing. It's like doctors are desperate to just push like antidepressants on people in the UK for stuff that it's not relevant for. And I'm pretty I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling that there's some sort of like incentive for doing that. But I think we're a country with like a big alcohol problem. I mean, I feel like a lot of the drugs that like, I don't know, I think people in the cities or like London use, there's a big cocaine, like people in the city, bankers and that kind of thing. Like, it's like a Wolf of Wall Street type shit. It's just like, I think cocaine is so much bigger in the UK than I've seen out here. It's not something I do, but it's like, I've seen it. I've been around it. Like,
have you ever tried it in your life?
I might try.
Dude, I hate admitting that I ever tried it because immediately people are like, "Oh, you crazy cokehead." It's like when I was 18 through 20, I had at least like 10 different experiments where I was just like
twice.
Where I tried it out, maybe less than 10, and every time I was disappointed and dissatisfied and did not like it. Like, I'd way rather do ecstasy or Molly or something like that because I can actually feel the intense immediate effects, whereas a coke, I'm just like, I feel like a crazy crackhead, and then also it like I don't really feel, I've never felt the effect. And then also, every single person you do coke with, they always tell you the same thing, which is, this is the best stuff, buddy. This is not cut up. This is not like your average stuff. This is some really genuine quality, A1 shit. And then every time I'm like, I didn't feel anything.
To be honest, I feel like one of the saddest things I see in the UK is people that love to drink a lot, and then they get into this habit where once they get drunk, then they have to have coke. And I've just seen a lot of people go down a bad path with that.
I've seen that in LA too.
You lose that inhibition of like, you wouldn't normally buy some coke. You start having a few drinks, then you get into it, and then you sort of like, you get into that habit of just like, I have 4 beers, I'm out.
Now I can do this.
I'm a city guy at a party, someone's bringing out the coke, and then I think that's how people end up in the addiction. They don't even realize they're doing it. They might wake up and forget they even did a bunch of coke.
Yeah,
that's not good, man. I would suggest people stay away.
Honestly, I have like a good amount of layer of just like self-criticism and just like guilt of like how I live my life sometimes. That when I was going through that phase a while ago, I was like going to the bars every weekend and just getting shit-faced drunk, and I would actually enjoy getting so drunk that all your inhibitions are released. You have no filter at any point, and at any point, then you have a good time with everyone, and like you're always just like looking to continue the good time, and it is super fun and it feels like very attractive. But then like I quickly realized, I'm like, bro, like I'm just burning through money. I'm not being productive at all, and everyone I'm meeting is a fucking crackhead basically. It's just like it's like, I don't know. It is very. I could see if I was like a slightly different person, how I'd be like more leaning towards the side of like wanting to do it more, or just like not caring about the effects of it. But it's like I care too much about, fucking, I don't know, being a shitty person or being an unhealthy person.
Well, I think, I think the reality is that like most people that get into hard drugs full time like end up doing it because they got like maybe unaddressed issues, like they're suffering from depression, or they're going through some like really difficult things. And these things, drugs, alcohol, can become a crutch, but I just think the most destructive ones are those ones, the cocaine, the crack, heroin, fentanyl. I mean, MDMA and stuff. Like,
you guys have no crack out there, huh?
No, we got crack.
Oh, really? Now we got crack.
We got crack. Depends where you go. In certain spots, definitely have crack. Crack, heroin for sure. But like, I'd never do that shit. But like, never heard much of a fentanyl thing.
I'm wondering if it's because we're so close to Mexico, where Mexico has like the whole cartel operation, billion-dollar industry. They work with all these different crime organizations all across the world. And I've heard that Mexico gets the fentanyl from China. China produces it, makes it, sends it to Mexico. We're right next to Mexico. Comes across the border, comes right to us. Getting it to you guys would probably be more difficult, right? It's like where do you guys get your cocaine from? Like, as for smuggling and all that stuff,
I don't know. If I knew, I wouldn't say, but I don't even know. But I would say that I think the unique problem you guys have is you've got these doctors, they're getting people hooked on these pills. Yes. Maybe they can't afford them, maybe they can't get them, but they're hooked on opioids at that point. Then they're moving to heroin or fentanyl or fake perks or whatever this shit is rappers always talk about, which I would just suggest people stay the hell away from. But
exactly.
If you're going through some things, people get caught in these situations, get addicted. Like, you get stuck in a cycle, it's hard to break, man. And I've got a lot of sympathy for people in that situation. I'm
not sure if you've seen, but we were talking about on Disconnected like an episode or two ago. Just like a week or two ago, a 13-year-old kid, a boy, was caught in middle school with $300 cash and 150 fake Percocets, all fentanyl. Damn. He was trapping like cartel level in middle school at 13 years old.
He'll be running the jail,
bro. And then this is something I was talking about, where I was just like, dude, when I was in middle school, there was like I saw like one person doing cocaine. You know, there was definitely no like
in middle school.
Yeah, there's definitely no like you know huge supply. There's no like buyer base for like 150 pills in middle school. I would have never imagined that.
All drugs are criminalized in the UK, right?
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
I mean, weed's considered like category B, which is like higher than most other countries would consider it. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of messed up. Like people fall into that cycle. But I don't know. We had that debate the other day on Disconnected about whether or not weed's a gateway drug. We don't have to have that debate again. But it's like whatever it is that gets you into it. Like if you end up just escalating up the food chain of drugs, like that's just that's bad news.
You remember that debate though, right? Just to talk about it a little bit. You remember my take, right? My take was it's not a gateway drug.
Oh wait, so Blasey was saying that it is.
Blasey saying it is, and I was saying it wasn't.
I don't think it is.
And I was reading through the comments, and there was like one person who left a comment saying like, "Oh, Yuri's another stupid Yuri political take or whatever it is. Like this dumbass doesn't even know what gateway means. He wants to say weed is a gateway drug," and I'm like, "Bro, I never said weed was a gateway drug. I was arguing against it." And then,
my God.
And then like I saw like 30 likes and like so many comments, and I'm like, how are people like getting off with these points that don't even make sense? Like all 30 of these people must have not listened to the podcast and went straight to the comment section just to shit on people. And I'm just like, bro, like that shit's been pissing me. Do you ever deal with that where people like will just get mad at you for takes you've never even had, like during your videos? They're like, Traplo Ross, can't believe you were transphobic or homophobic or did this, and you're just like, what? Like I never fucking said that. Like
I get hella comments of people that either haven't finished the video, so they'll be like hating on some detail. They'll be like,
I could see that happening.
You missed the fact that this happened. I'm like, bro, watch video to the end. There's a whole chapter on that.
Right.
Like, chill out. Or I get people where it's like people haven't listened properly. There was one, I don't want to get this wrong. I might get this wrong, but it's like I did a Toronto drill kind of video, and I said in that. I said Toronto is the capital of Ontario, which I think is right, but it's not. I know that it's not. Wait, not Ontario. Was it?
Canada.
Toronto's not the capital of Canada, though.
Canada's the country.
Ottawa is, right?
Ottawa. I don't know. I would think Ontario.
Ontario.
Wait, is Ontario? Oh man.
Fuck, I have no idea.
Whatever it was, I was correct. It was like Toronto. Oh man.
Whatever, you were correct that
day.
I looked it up and it was correct. Basically, I'm pretty sure I was saying that Toronto was the capital of like this administrative district, not the whole country. And people were like, it's not the capital of the country. And I was like, just listen to what I said, man.
Oh my God.
I looked this up on Wikipedia specifically to be correct about this.
Yeah,
exactly.
But shit, man. By the way I'm talking about it now is probably wrong.
It's okay, we're stupid Americans.
I've noticed a lot of like that's the thing I was gonna say is like I've noticed a lot of foreigners, will have this perspective of like stupid Americans, and then also it's kind of like almost a well-known thing where Americans have the least knowledge on like geography outside of America, or just like just countries outside of America, where Americans will know barely shit about America, actually not even be able to name all 50 states, but they will know nothing about the rest of the world. And I kind of fall under that category because I have no idea where you live. I can't even put an image in my head of like where it is on the map. But do you think that like is that perspective is true?
No, I think a lot of people, especially Europeans, like to do that. And I don't agree with it. I'm the biggest American apologist you'll find. I love America.
Okay.
I think a lot, like, for example, yeah, you might not know all the inner details of like all the countries in Eastern Europe, but you get all these people in Europe, especially UK, Americans, they haven't even left the country. They don't even know what the countries in Europe are. And it's like, yo, you couldn't name all 50 states. You don't know what state is above this state. Or what state. America is such a big place.
Exactly.
It's like its own world in itself. Every state, you got 50 states. Every one of them's got like a different flavor, a different culture. All these European countries, there's a bunch of countries in Europe that all have a different culture. They don't know everything about all the states in America. They're just as ignorant as like an American is to Europe. But I feel like the Europeans just have this like high and mighty, like we're so cultured. Americans are so dumb. But it's just like, you know what you know, they know what they know. Exactly. I love America, so I feel like it's dumb. But
you know what's funny? I just posted this video the other day when we were talking about the whole alcohol thing, where like in your country they binge drink a lot more. I saw this like Instagram post where it was like this American talking with the European, and he was like, "How much do you drink?" And the dude's like, 6 or 7. And the American dude's like, 6 or 7 beers a week. And the dude's like, you're counting beers too? And I was just like, it's a common thing where I feel like it's not just Russians, because Russians fall into the alcoholic category. I feel like you look at the Irish, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like look at Germans, look at like, just I feel like all across Europe and just other than, America, it's like drinking is just more prevalent or more popular, I guess. I'm not sure. Less looked down upon. And also the beers are lighter out there. That's the other thing.
In
Germany, at least I've heard about that, where I've seen videos of people everyone has a beer out there constantly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You always see a dude with a fucking beer in his hand. And I was talking to some dude who was like, all the beers are light. He's like, it's not one of these beers that has like 6% alcohol. It's like a 2% alcohol beer that people just drink as water or as a beverage, basically, you know?
I feel like maybe that's more German. I feel like in the UK we like a bit of a stronger beer. I mean, we got some beers that are ridiculously strong. I mean, we got this beer called Special Brew that's like 9%. You can get these super tenants that are like 10. They're like basically what they say is like the homeless people fuel. You know what I mean?
Okay, like a Four Loko or something like that.
Bruh. Four Locos, bro. So Four Locos, man. I remember hearing about Four Locos. You couldn't get them in the UK because they're illegal.
Really?
Too strong. Too much.
I was
caffeine.
16 years old drinking that shit.
Bruh. I imported a bunch of them. Like,
oh,
illegally,
really?
just online.
No.
Oh my god.
Cases of them sent over. I was probably like 18, 19 when I went to
That is so
university.
funny.
But I was getting trashed on Four Locos, bro. These are the memories that probably led to me quit drinking. Frankly.
Oh, really?
Like drinking like four Locos and just blacking out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I never had one, but all my friends would tell me like how fucked up they would get off of those.
You're trying to have a fight when you've had a couple Four Locos.
No, 100%.
The new thing is buzzball.
No, you see, I've talked about this before, where like before I got with Rylee, my relationship with alcohol was like one of my friends would hit me up and say like, hey, we're gonna go to the bar today, or we're gonna go out today, and my relationship with alcohol was like, I thought like you had to get shit faced, you had to get super drunk, no more holdbacks, all filters gone, like you had to get that drunk and see what, and hopefully you don't throw up that night. Like that was my association with alcohol. And once I got with Rylee, she introduced me to like more of like, we would get pretty buzzed and she'd be like, nah, I don't want to drink anymore, you know what I mean? Like, and I'd be like, oh, okay, like so you just
cut yourself off.
Stop yourself here, I'm drunk, I don't gotta drink no more. It's like, and then I started realizing like, okay, there's like a more, I guess, responsible way of like kind of enjoying alcohol and stuff like that. Do you think you quit alcohol because you had like, you didn't have that like that filter, or you felt like you needed to get four Locos inside of you before you called the quits?
That's part of it. I think the drinking culture I experienced and I grew up with probably was drink to excess.
Yes.
Like if you're not slammed and completely hammered, what are you doing?
Exactly.
And it's competitive. I remember at university, and I was sucked into it. Like it was competitive. It was like you get to university, and it's like, who's drinking the most? Who can down the most booze?
Exactly.
Like down it. Who can
Your
drink it
respect
first?
and shit, yeah.
Yep.
Who's got the most? How many of you had? I've had 9 beers. Like I'm out in front. Like, and let's be real. I'm not the biggest guy in the world, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep up with like tall, big, wide dudes or whatever.
Right.
At university, they're drinking crazy amounts of alcohol. You're all trying to fit in and keep up with each other. It's just not very nice. But like, yeah, man, I feel like, especially in the UK, or even maybe just for younger people, it's like this drink to excess culture, which just isn't that good. And I would just wake up feeling so screwed up and just not able to function. So I'm not really trying to do that.
Yeah, every time I wake up with a hangover and I'm just throwing up, I'm like, this is not worth it.
Exactly.
Just for like a night where you're like, don't even really remember. Like, this is so stupid.
Exactly. And that's why, like, whenever people tell me, like, I'm done drinking, like, I completely understand it. But then also, there's always like a part of me where I'm just like, I don't want to give this shit up either, because you only live once, YOLO type shit. And then also it's like, I want to be able to fucking at least manage or control it.
Well, yeah, if you can control it, and
I guess, I don't know, for some people it's uncontrollable.
I guess it's like when you're stuck, I mean, even for me back then, it's like when you're stuck in the idea of like, I'm just going to drink to excess all the time.
Yeah.
Having like 2 glasses of wine with your dinner just seems pointless. And even now it's like, I don't drink now. It's like the idea. It's like, why don't you just have a glass of wine with your dinner? I'm like, what? Like, just add $15 onto my bill for like.
Exactly.
That's the other thing, dude.
It's so expensive.
Riley and I just took a month off alcohol,
Nice.
and we realized like, you go to a restaurant and then you both get a hamburger. It's like, okay, it's $20, but then you go to a restaurant, you both grab a fucking a Moscow Mule. It's $40-$50 out of all of a sudden, and then you guys a little bit buzzed. You're like, let's grab another drink, and then like you really realize like, bro, you're spending so much more money on alcohol like when you go to restaurants and shit like that. It's fucked.
Like it doesn't matter how much money you're making, wasting on alcohol just seems dumb to me. Like I remember those times when I used to drink a lot, and like waking up and you've got drunk, and it's like when you get to the point where you're drunk and you don't care about your money anymore, and you're like, drinks on me, like this round on me, and you wake up and you just spend £200-300 on booze, and you're just like, what the like, bro, why did I do that? So dumb. I'm so sad now.
Wait, is that your maximum that you've ever spent on a night's drinking? £200-300?
Yeah, probably.
Dude, you want to hear a fucked up
Oh,
story?
God, what?
I told Rylee this before a long time ago. Okay, so basically, I had broke my ankle skateboarding at one point, and I was like stuck in bed recovering for like 6 months. It was like my longest recovery period ever. And once I was able to walk and not have crutches or a cast anymore, I just wanted to fucking party and go out and drink with my friends. So like after I went like on a 2-3 month like just like going out every weekend binge. And on one of those weekend binges, I remember getting super drunk, blacking out, and then next thing you know, I just remember waking up in this is when I lived with my parents. I woke up in my bedroom, and I was just like in my bed, and I was like looking around. I was like, oh shit, like my phone's right here. Yeah, how did I get home? I was like, my phone's here, my wallet's here, my keys are here. I didn't lose anything. I'm like, I'm safely in bed. There's no throw up next to me. I'm like, I thought this would be a terrible night. Like, I'm chilling right now. And then first thing that happened is my mom walked in. She was like looking at me with this like face of like disappointment. She was like, Yuriy, what did you do last night? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, you fell asleep naked on the toilet and your dad had to carry you to bed. And I was just like, oh, great. Like, my dad had to carry his 22-year-old naked son into bed. Like, sleep on the toilet. God. I don't remember that. And then also, I looked at my bank statement and I saw I had like spent like $600 like something the night before.
Oh,
and I was
you were
like,
buying everybody's drink.
And I was like, what the fuck? Like, how did I spend $600? Called one of my friends that I was with that night, and I was like, dude, what happened last night? How did I spend so much money? And he's like, dude, we went to 2-3 different bars, and he's like, every bar we walked into, you yelled all drinks on me. And I was like, I don't remember any of this. and not only that, but I was like, why didn't you stop me? I'm like, if you see your drunk friend screaming all drinks on me, like, I'd be like, yo, chill. You don't want to spend $1,000 right now. Like, stop. I was like, you didn't even stop me. He's like, I was fucked up.
I would have been like,
dude.
hell yeah.
Bruh. So like, that was the worst. And that's when I was like making like $1,200 a month. So for me to spend $600 a night, I was like, I'm in debt for life. I was like, dude, this is the worst decision of my fucking life ever.
It's devastating, man. But blacking out's so scary. There were times, there were times at university when it's like, same shit. I would just wake up in my bed with my clothes on and be like, what the fuck happened? I mean, there was a time I woke up like, I had a nice watch, so I woke up with no watch. No keys. No. Like, there was a time I woke up with no keys in my bed. I didn't know how I got home. Didn't know how I got in my bed. Had to go to security. I was like, yo, I got no keys. I still to this day, I don't know. I'm like, did I flush my keys down the toilet? Like, I have no idea. Dude,
that's also the funny part about drinking is like solving those mysteries.
I guess so. You have to go back and look at clues. Like, you look at your destroyed car.
Exactly.
Your fucked up stuff.
No, one time I blacked out and I was in college and I was in my bed and I'm like tossing, turning. I'm like, my bed feels so cold. And I realized I pissed my bed.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, all my roommates were gone. I was like, what the fuck happened?
My bed feels so cold.
I was like, I texted all my roommates in our group messages like, guys, like, ... what happened? They're like, Rylee, ... It was so bad.
Oh no.
They had to carry you out the party, blah blah blah. Like you just got crazy, passed out. I guess I pissed my bed, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm disgusting.
Jeez, that's drinking's amazing, isn't it? Look at these stories we have to tell.
It's college.
Yeah, college you do it for sure.
How long were you in university for?
3 years.
Wait, that's relatively okay, I'm not sure if you know about American schools, but like there's it's like there's so many people that it usually takes longer to graduate. If they say it takes 4 years, it'll take like 6 or 7. Hearing 3 years is kind of, you graduate with a degree and everything?
Yeah, with a bachelor's. Wow. But I think it's slightly different. I think you guys finish high school sooner than we do.
12th grade. It goes up to 12 here.
See, we have a 12th and 13th grade.
Whoa.
Yeah,
but that's considered in our country college.
Okay.
And then university comes after. So, you do 2 years college, 3 years university. So I guess that's 5 years.
Same thing in Russia. High school ends at 16.
Oh, when you're 16 years old.
Yeah, when you're like 16, that's relatively when high school ends.
16,
and then you could either go to like a specialty school if you want to be a plumber or something like that, or you go to university like you did.
Because when I was that age, you could finish at 15 and just go and get a job. They changed it, so now you have to stay. So you have to go to a college or a sixth form or like whatever they call it till you're 18 now. So you have to be in some sort of education until you're 18. It wasn't the case. Like, I could have dropped out at 15. I didn't. But like, and then you go on to university the 3 years after. Yeah. So I guess in the end, it probably works out similar.
What happens nowadays if you're a 15-year-old and you're like a fuckhead out there and you don't want to go to school? Like, do your parents get in trouble for you?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know too much because I guess my parents were like pretty good. But, like,
They were lenient.
No, they were good. Like I was always in school, so
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I
They're
don't know
good
what the
parent-
consequences are for
I
like
see,
never
I
going to
see.
school. But I guess I don't know, like social services like get involved in shit. Like
Yeah.
Wow.
they used to be, to be fair, they used like
That's what happens out here too.
I had
Yeah.
a homie who was a little bit misbehaved in school, and he used to do like fuck shit and like not go to school. And he said that like they sent like the police paddy wagon round to his house to take him to school and shit. And his
Oh
mum would
my
get in trouble.
God.
This kid told
Oh
me the
my
funniest
God.
story. I bro, I
The
got-
police takes you to school because you're not going.
So this same dude, he was a good friend of mine. Shout out to him, but I won't say his name. But he did the funniest shit. So he didn't go to my school. He went to another school. But someone gave him the uniform for our school. So he pulled up to our school for a joke. And came into lessons like with the homies. He was the year below me, so I wasn't there for this, but I heard the
Wow.
story. And so he came in, and then they're like doing the roll call, and they're just like, "Who the fuck is this kid?" I won't say his name, but he's like, "Yo, I'm whatever, like I'm Steve, whatever, like I'm here." And he's like, "I'm in
Yeah.
this class," and the teacher's like,
No,
"No,
yeah.
you're fucking not."
Oh
He's
my
like,
God.
"Yeah, I just transferred here." And
That's
That
so
is
sick.
funny.
the like head of like the deputy head teacher had to like chase this kid out of the
Oh
school.
my
It's like a
God.
legendary story.
That's fucking hilarious.
Just like
I did have a
That is
situation
so
like
cool.
that, but I remember I had a homie who like I went to Bancroft Middle School and there's Bernstein Middle School, which is like a couple miles away, but he had got kicked out of his middle school, calls me like, "Hey, I just got kicked out. I'm gonna stop by yours on my way home." And he like stopped by and he was like, "Yo, I'm outside the gate." And like he just pulled up to the gate and I was just like saying what's up to him and talking to him outside the gate, but then security guards from my school were like, "Why is that kid outside? Like, did he escape?" And I'm like he's not even from this school, like whatever. Like, I don't know. It's funny being a kid because honestly it gives you like, I always thought about this when I was like in high school too, is like it's good like almost criminal practice because you're doing like illegal things, bad things, skipping school, doing drugs in school or whatever it is, but like every time it's a slap on the wrist. It's like, we're gonna call your parents or you get expelled or suspended or whatever it is. It's like you don't actually go to jail, but it's like for certain kids that's almost like like practice for actually being a criminal later on in life. You know what I mean?
Well, it's almost like it's practice for both being a criminal and like an upstanding member of society, right? Because it's like a job. You're supposed to got to be there at 9 o'clock or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You work until the end of the day. You got to stay focused. You can't slack off. You
Yeah,
got,
yeah,
you
that's
got
true.
obligations. You got to get on with people, or you can be a fucking criminal and like
Exactly.
run away.
One way one of my stoner homies back in the day would like make an example for me, like when I was like 15 and he was like just getting out of high school, he would tell me like, "Bro," he's like, "school is just a test of how much bullshit you could put up with, and depending on how much bullshit you can put up with, you'll put up with more bullshit in college, and then depending on how much bullshit you could put up with college, they assign you a job of like bullshit to do, and like basically they just discover how much bullshit a person can deal with and assign them a job that fits categorically. That's not how it works, you know what I mean? But I was like, if you think about it in some philosophical stoner way, I guess like it is kind of like a lot of the work did not. I was never interested in school, so to me it felt like bullshit. You know what I mean? But I'm sure for a kid who's actually interested in, learning and, growing his intelligence and all that stuff, it's just like it would be actually a cool experience. But for me, I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, you just got to find what you're into. I didn't perform well in school until I got to that like college stage that I was saying about, and then you get to choose what topics you study when you're in the college, when you get to college or sixth form, whatever.
Yeah.
It was only when I could like choose stuff I was interested in, then I actually started getting good grades.
Really?
It was like, oh damn, like I can actually do stuff, and it wasn't like lame stuff. I did like film, I did like politics, economics, and like I'd done math in like regular school. I'd never done economics, like learning about money and like the money system. I was interested in that, and it's like then I started actually getting A's, and it was like damn, like I'd had a couple A's, but like I didn't have like a real good sheet of results or like exam results and stuff. But then when I started doing stuff I was into, it's like just started doing well, because it's like your guy said about school, it's like, if you look at it that way, it's like, yeah, it's just to see how much bullshit you can take. But it's like, if you can find what you like, if you can find things about school that you actually enjoy, that motivate you, you can actually become like a smart person.
Yeah, the one example I've used before many times on the podcast is like to skateboarding, where I've had so many people in my life, get into skateboarding and then they'll leave, 2-3 years later because they've either been injured or they just don't like the lifestyle, or they think it's dirty or grimy. It's like you really realize that like, oh, the people who are actually interested, they apply themselves, and same thing falls for school. You know what I mean? Like, but the difference is we're not all forced to skateboard. We're all forced to go to school. Yeah. So then like you see the difference of the people who apply themselves and the people who really genuinely don't care. One of the questions. Oh, wait, sorry.
Before we go, can I quickly use the bathroom?
Oh yeah,
of
go for it.
course.
Yeah. It's right over here.
We'll talk to the chat.
Yeah, we'll open up the chat temporarily. We've already gone an
Intermission.
hour.
I know that flew by.
But we did start a little bit late. I'm super sorry about that, guys. There
we
was
were
just
getting
like,
everything situated.
yeah, there's always like a million things that like I always forget to like turn on and switch the audio settings for. I'd rather fix it beforehand than fix it afterhand because it always like seems like ratchet and
I'm gonna open our bedroom
not professional.
so the cats can come out and play.
Now it's just me. Hey guys. Okay, so where the mods at? Oh, they're always in here. Act normal guys. Wait, act normal guys. What was the chat doing? Was the chat going crazy the whole time? The multiverse. No Rylee slander while they read the chat. What the fuck?
Oh my god.
Ask him about E1. Okay, well, I need to remember what the hell that is. Dry the mattress out. we don't hear orange.
Look at Luffy comes up straight
of
up.
course. The chat is bricked after your peace story.
This is our sweet cat.
Oh yes, our smaller black cat, the girl one, she just has anxiety. Like
She's crazy.
we the person we got her from literally told us that they're like we found her in a alley in Compton, and when we got her, her tail was broken a little bit, and
Yeah.
it looked like something had happened to her, like traumatizing, and yeah. So now she like doesn't seem like she fucks with anyone really. Yo, this chat is wild. What the fuck is going on in the chat, dude? I haven't been able to see. Demon time. You can't choose favorites with
Where the dog at?
Nah, fuck the dog. The dog is not a favorite. No, I'm kidding. We took the dog out today. Beans had a whole fucking day of exploration and running around. It's always a good day when Beans comes home and falls asleep immediately.
I know.
That's when you know he like.
That's
Oh
when you
yes.
know he got super
He had
tired.
he had a good ass day of like exercise and stuff like that. Okay, so one question I wanted to ask you is, I was surprised to find out that you smoke weed, and I'm even more surprised. Wait, am I allowed to say that?
I mean, I said it on the last thing.
Okay. Yes.
It's
That's
not something. It's not something I usually bring like attention to, just because I don't know. People like make assumptions. It's a bit more of a taboo thing in the UK.
Oh,
But
really?
like,
That's what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was gonna ask you is, do you not talk about it or promote the fact that you do that because of your
Ties to the
parents,
UK?
or is it because of like where you come from? Because I know that in Russia, it's just like, yes, like people will keep that type of stuff hidden because of the stigma around it or something like that. For me, for example, sometimes I'll do certain stuff on at this point my parents have stopped bugging me, but for a while when I was working on my YouTube channel, my parents would be like, you can't be showing this on your channel, you can't be doing this on your channel because your grandma sees it, your aunt sees
Yeah.
it, your nephew sees it, like, oh, not nephew, but like, you know, all your cousins see it. Like, they worry about the perspective of my family members in Russia on what I do out here. And I always tell them, like, guys, I am not going to live my life like worried about the perspective of people in another. I know they're my family members, but like I will live my life the way I choose. I don't want to be like worried about they're going to think I'm a crackhead because I smoke weed. So I always like told them I don't care. But like, why do you like, yeah.
There's not really that's definitely not the reason. I mean, I don't think I keep that sort of thing. I'm a huge like personal secret, but it's also not something I would like rub in someone's face. The older generation in the UK, they don't think it's a good thing. They're not really trying to hear
At
it.
all.
But it's funny because I probably get more stigma and pushback on not drinking alcohol than I do on being a cannabis user.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, definitely.
People
bro.
like shame you?
People are pissed when you don't drink alcohol, bro. Especially in the UK, bro. It's like, why are you not having a beer? Like, come have a beer. And even like, I quit drinking for a while at the end of university because I just wanted to focus on my studies. Like, I had a lot of other things I wanted to do. I'd had a few bad experiences, and I was like, I need to have a break from this.
Yeah.
And bro, like, I had friends that turned on me, like,
Really?
like full blown people, like, oh, we don't trust you because you don't drink. Like,
Wow.
like- and as well, like, at the time, like, I was single, or like, you know, I'd been in between relationships, and it's like, I would have trouble like dating. Like, girls would be like, oh, it's weird that you don't drink.
What?
Because it's like such a social thing.
Yeah, like, you know, obviously some people it's like you want to unwind and like go for a date.
Yeah.
But also the flip side, it's like, you know, I'd go for dates with girls and be like, I don't drink, like, no big deal. And they're
Is
like,
it a
"Oh,
respect
really?"
thing too? Because I know in Russia, if I were to visit like someone's house or whatever, they might
Offer you wine.
just pour up a
or
shot for me without me
you.
even asking. Just like put it on the table and be like, you know, cheers. And if I go like, no, I'm sorry, like that in itself is disrespectful. They already poured it up for me. They
Yeah.
offered it to me. I'm like, no.
There's been like 1 or 2 times when that's happened, and it's just I'll just kind of like if it's like if it feels really inappropriate to turn it down, I might just pretend to drink it. You know
Oh,
what I'm saying?
really?
Sip
Okay.
it, like,
Take a little tiny sip.
pour out
That's
the window or
nice.
something.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I know growing up because I come from like a Mexican household. Like my dad's side of the family is Mexican, and like they're always like telling us like it's okay to drink when you're around your family inside the house and stuff. And like his excuse to like we like when we would eat dinner and like I would have a glass of wine when I was like underage. He'd be like, "Oh, it's okay. Like kids in Europe always drink wine with their dinner." How like early is that?
Man.
able.
Yeah, acceptable.
Accepted. I mean, yeah,
I was drinking-
acceptable.
I was drinking hella early.
Really?
I was drinking hella early. Yeah, man. It was always a thing, like in the UK, you know. People let the kids have a cheeky beer. Like,
Yeah.
and as well, I mean, I don't know, my family...
Cheeky.
My family probably like a drink. And like, I just remember, you know, growing up, like, you know, my dad and his boys would be around the house having drinks.
Yeah.
Like, someone would give me a cheeky beer. You know what I'm saying? I'd be super young. Just like, yeah, you know, cheeky little beer. Like,
What about
nonsense
what about
thing.
cigarettes too? Are they like a part of like the culture out there?
I would say not
Or
as
smoking?
much. Not as much. Like, but I feel like here, you guys really hate the smoking. It's more of a stigma, like people smoking and like. cigarettes and
That's what the
stuff.
new like healthy woke shit. You know what I mean? Like, there's definitely still a whole like American culture who just doesn't give a fuck and they just smoke cigarettes because they like to. But I remember when I only visited Russia twice because I was born in Russia, but I moved out here when I was 2 years old. But Russia has like I'm not sure if you guys have it out there too, but we have like you have to go to the army for 2 years once you turn 18, and I have dual citizenship. So if I go back there, there's a chance they can be assholes. And Russian
You ain't
government.
going back, bro.
No, yeah.
You ain't going back.
Ah.
Hell no.
Russian government is known for being assholes, so I've always not risked it. And people
Yeah.
have told me wait till you're 30 so that they can officially not take you anymore. But now there's a whole war broken out and all this shit, so it's
They'll
even
take
worse.
they'll take you at 65 now, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. So people are breaking their
joke.
arms and legs to not go. So
You thought about just going over there, fucking some shit up, bro. Get a rusty AK. You know what I'm saying?
no, hell no. People have been.
Do your bit for the-
some people have been telling me they're like,
evil.
"Oh, you love Russia so much, but you don't want to go fight with them for Ukraine." I'm like, "Are you retarded, dude?"
You're like, bruh.
Like no, dude. Like there's literally people in Russia who are like, there's so many people in Russia who do not support the war at all. They're literally breaking their legs and arms to not be in the war, and you want me to go there just because I like being Russian because I'm proud of my culture or whatever it is. But okay, so what I was gonna ask you is when I was 13, one of the times I visited out there, I remember I was fishing with one of my cousins, and Russian reels and American reels are different, like the way the designs are, right? And I remember I was like out there with my American reel, and my shit got like twisted up or tangled, and I couldn't fix it. And I was like, and the dude, my cousin who I was with, he's like, I don't have any experience with this, so I don't know how to fix it. And I was just like standing there for a couple minutes, just like, oh fuck, like I don't know what I'm gonna do, just fishing with my cousin. And then literally like a 10-year-old, like 10-year-old kid, a tiny little kid who hasn't even hit puberty yet, walks over with a cigarette just hanging from the side of his mouth, like, hey, well, you know, like in Russian, like, hey, what's going on, blah blah. I'm like, oh, we're just fishing, you know, my shit's broken. He's like, let me see it. I hand over my fishing reel to this like 10-year-old kid with a cigarette in his mouth, and like with the cigarette, he just like fucking with it, fixes it, and hands it back to me. And he's like, here you go, man. And I was just like, I realized, I'm like, dude, like Russia has this like this culture for men where like kids want to be manly as soon as possible, and they associate that with like being handy, number one, and also smoking cigarettes and drinking, you know. So that's why I was asking, like, is smoking cigarettes like a thing out there?
It's funny because it's like drinking. I was drinking too young. You know, I would have had older people giving me a cheeky drink, give me
Yeah.
a little beer, even like.
Because they think it's funny or whatever.
Yeah, they think it's funny and they love it and they get drunk. Once
Yeah.
they're drunk, maybe if they were sober, they would think better than
Yeah.
like, you know,
Right.
fucking 6,
Exactly.
7-year-old a half of a beer. But like, you know, they get drunk, they're having a good time, they want you to, and you know, you end up
Yeah.
being a kid, just being sick, like having too much booze as a kid, like, or whatever. But you know, when you get to like 15, 16, then you're like going out to a park and drinking
Yeah.
with like other 15, 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
But cigarettes, to me, it just never popped up until I was like 15, 16, going out drinking in the streets of, you know, little English towns. Then you'd be having like rolled up cigarettes and you'd be like, cool.
Did you ever like get into smoking cigarettes?
Yeah, I
a
smoked
little
cigarettes
bit.
for a little while, yeah.
Oh really?
Like,
Like actually, you would actually like purchase packs, or you would just
Yeah.
smoke a cigarette when you were drunk?
No, yeah, I used to smoke like cigarettes.
Oh really?
Yeah, yeah.
Damn. I remember for a while I would only smoke cigarettes when I was drunk, and actually, you know what?
That's how they get you though. That's how you get into it,
Exactly.
for sure.
Dude, I remember I did this one thing where I would piss off a lot of people when I did this, but I would be at bars and I'd be like, hey man, you have a cigarette? And he'd be like, yeah, right? I would grab the cigarette. Most people expect you to spark the cigarette immediately and just like talk or whatever. I would take the cigarette and like put it in my pocket, or just take the cigarette for later, because I would like, for some reason I always wanted to smoke a cigarette like at the end of the night before I went home or
Oh,
something
hell
like
yeah.
that.
Hell yeah.
So I'd always just keep a cigarette, and a couple people would be like, yo, it's kind of weird how you're just grabbing a cig
weird.
just to keep it for later.
You fucking mooch.
Yeah, you mooch.
I used to do the fucked up thing though, where you're in your head you'd be like, I'm not a smoker if I never buy my own cigarettes. But then you start getting drunk, and then you're just like asking everybody for cigarettes at all situations, and then your friends start to realize it, and they're like, bro, buy your own fucking cigarettes.
Exactly.
And then you are buying your own cigarettes, and you're a smoker.
You're trying to trick yourself. You're like, I'm not buying my own packs. I'm not a smoker. I just smoke them sometimes. But then
Once in a blue moon
all your
every
friends are
weekend.
like, you're smoking half of my pack.
And
dude."
you know, those times when you're like just starting out smoking, that's the most glorious time of being a smoker. You know, when you've
Right.
got, when you're just getting into smoking, like when you've been through that and you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna buy my own pack. And
Yeah.
you got a whole 20 pack, and it's just like, man, I'm gonna smoke all of these.
You got
This
nice
is so
healthy
good.
lungs that don't have any resin on them.
You know, it's like because you're limited by your own embarrassment when you're trying to pilfer cigarettes
Mhm.
off
Oh,
other people,
yes,
right?
yes,
When you
yes.
got your own 20 pack, you're like, man, I'm gonna smoke all the cigarettes
Yeah.
I want
Really?
all day long. You know, that'd be nice to get drunk and smoke a whole 20 pack.
Wait, did you ever smoke cigarettes?
Nah.
Oh, okay.
But I'm talking about like I'm thinking by myself like about weed,
Oh,
like getting your
yes.
own weed and like being able to like roll your own, or I would
Yeah.
stuff cones because I can't roll joints.
Dude, it's dangerous when I'm drunk. Like when I get drunk, I can just smoke spliff after spliff after spliff and not
Yeah.
even care. I have to like mentally remind myself, like, dude,
I was never into cigarettes
you're not
though.
gonna get any higher. Right
I
now.
never really smoked. I don't even think I really smoked a cigarette. Maybe like once.
You took a puff.
Yeah,
on
like
it.
a puff.
Oh, the other thing is also in LA bar culture is there's always like a smoking section outside, and that always tends to be the more public area, more
Right.
conversational area. So you had to have a reason to be out there. So you
Yeah.
would go there and be like, "Can I have a cigarette?" And just stand there and like talk to people while you're smoking.
It's unusual for me to come across Americans that smoke spliffs because
Really?
everyone in England, majority of people smoke
Smoke
spliffs in
spliffs.
England.
It's becoming more and more. I was just talking about this with Donnie the other day. He's another person that works for No Jumper. I've been friends with him for a long time. But when I first became friends with him, he was a big backwoods smoker, right? And so
Yeah, it's blunts out here.
and so
Yeah,
was
yeah,
everyone
backwoods
else.
are fire.
Yeah, everyone else was smoking backwoods. Adam was smoking backwoods. Donnie was smoking backwoods. Everyone that came into the office was smoking backwoods. And then now, Adam only smokes
He smokes
spliffs.
spliffs. Yeah, it's crazy.
And then Donnie, I was even more surprised when Donnie made this switch because he was such a backwoods smoker and he has like infinite supply of weed. So he does not, for a normal person, you're like, oh, I'm smoking a whole eighth here. For him, he's like, he just has infinite weed, so it doesn't even matter.
But when I met Yuriy, I was only smoking joints. Like I would only smoke pure weed
Oh,
joints, and Yuriy was like a dabber. So
Yeah, I
he
would
would
only
take
take
the
dabs.
wax dabs, and I was like,
Exactly.
nope, can't do it. And so like our middle ground was like, okay, spliff, because he needed like the little tobacco.
Because
to
I
get-
can't smoke just a regular joint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bruh, this is the thing, man. I mean, I don't smoke joints. Back in the day, I would have smoked joints, but like, you get addicted to the tobacco.
It's
And
the
nice,
tobacco.
but it
Yes.
seems like in
It is
America,
nice.
It seems like for you guys, it's like sophisticated to have joints. Mm-hmm. No, sorry, spliffs.
Well, it's because
Really?
tobacco. Oh no, it's. I feel like tobacco is just so frowned upon in the U.S. Like everybody thinks cigarettes and like
That's true.
tobacco's
But then no-
disgusting.
but then
Like they don't
also-
want to smell it. They don't want to be around it.
But a lot of people have those thoughts. Will be smoking Swishers. Dusters,
Yeah,
or
exact-
backwards,
it's so
and then not
backwards.
admit to themselves that they're smoking tobacco. You'd be like, dude, you know
Exactly.
that's tobacco, right?
Worse tobacco.
Yeah,
The back-
not
the
even
people
worse.
who-
It's more. It's like
Yeah.
you're smoking more tobacco than you would in the split.
People who smoke like blunts and shit like will judge Yuri and I for smoking spliffs. They'll
Exactly.
be like, "Oh, I can't hit the spliff, but you're gonna smoke the fucking full ass
Yeah.
tobacco leaf.
Yeah.
The one
We're
criticism
crumbling
you'll-
like little pieces in our
yeah,
little
the one
everything."
criticism you'll hear is like, "Oh, I would never mix my the weed, the tobacco in my weed," and you're like,
Bro, you are.
smoke backwoods only, dude. You
Right.
know what that is, right?
I feel like a backwards though, like you take a backwards to the face, and at least like in my
No.
experience, that's just you're gone. Spliffs, like
Yeah,
having
you're
a little,
gone.
little
Then
something.
that-
you know what
okay,
I'm saying?
that's true.
Light little
If you
something.
take
Yeah,
it
it's
backwards to
like-
the face, you're definitely gonna be gone. That's like
Yeah.
an eighth of weed generally, or like 2 grams.
But even like I don't know, when you have a little go on a backwards, I feel like it just hits more like than a spliff. I think a spliff's more like a nice like you're coasting along, like it's a nice level, you know.
Yeah,
You-
yeah.
Yeah.
A spliff's basically you want to smoke weed all day long and still be able to get.
That's
shit
kind of
done.
true. You know what? Actually, I was gonna while we're talking about spliffs and shit. I noticed that in like the UK and stuff like that, or I've heard they'll just take like a joint full of just tobacco and put hash rocks in it, and that will be their spliff. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I mean that's like what you do in prison and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's a
people
prison
do,
thing.
People do that otherwise. That's definitely a big prison thing. But,
Oh,
like, People like
really?
smoking joints with hash. I mean, hash again. You know, the weed in the UK. Generally, what people again isn't as good. Hash maybe like people are relying on maybe a slightly lower grade of hash. I mean, back in the day, they used to have this thing. I don't even know if it's a thing anymore, but it's like you'd get like squidgy black, which is like it's almost like really soft hash, like resin kind of thing. You'd like roll
Okay,
it,
yeah,
roll it
yeah.
up into like little threads. and
I've
put
had
it
that
in there.
before.
Yeah, and that's like you know
You
that's,
put it in the middle. And
yeah,
shit
like
that.
with a bunch of tobacco. That's like on the lower
Okay,
end,
okay.
the lower price end, I would say.
That's interesting. Okay, so one question I wanted to ask you is because I know you're a huge hip hop fan, but then also your knowledge from like the stuff you talk about is like more recent hip hop. But then also growing up in Los Angeles, a lot of like all my friends growing up are always like Hispanic, and I've noticed that there's always been like a huge culture in like the Hispanic culture to be into like more underground hip hop, which in my case like was more like MF Doom, De La Soul, Jazz Liberators, Diggable Planets, Nappy Roots, Quasimodo. And I was gonna ask, like, did you ever get into that phase? Did you like hear of any of these artists ever?
A couple of them. Not,
Okay.
A few of them I hadn't. I mean, I was a big MF Doom fan back in the day.
Okay.
When I was younger, I liked a lot of Doom, Quasimodo. It's funny. I feel like I was really into like the mainstream artists when I was very young. The Eminem, 50 Cent, Jay-Z,
Yeah.
DMX. Kanye, when Kanye was first coming out.
Same here when I was younger, but when I moved, like when I got into high school, it just seemed like, you know, it was an unspoken thing where it just seemed cooler to be more into the you know, artists that weren't on labels and radio stations and stuff like that. The more stuff you'd have to be more in the know to know about, and that's where like more people like would listen to that. But then I remember I did have this whole like part of my life where I thought that I was a better person than other people because I was like, I know these artists that you don't even know about. But then I slowly phased out of that fucking hierarchy of just like thinking I'm better than people because I know about these artists. It was basically hipster bullshit.
It's true though, because you know the artists you listen to, like it kind of says a lot about you. And
exactly.
You can get into that way of thinking of like, especially when you're younger, you know, I went through that phase of feeling like anything that's popular is lame. Like,
that's how I felt.
The big artists are so
That's
lame.
him all the way.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, I feel like, I don't know, maybe when I got a bit older and felt a bit of success myself, I begun to appreciate like, okay,
these
Drake,
people are actually great people.
like,
great artists.
Drake, maybe not everything he does is great, but it's like, yo, he's making songs that everybody, that a billion people can get
he has
behind
classics.
and enjoy.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of, you can appreciate the mainstream as well as the like indie stuff.
Yeah.
But,
You're right.
Did you ever listen through the whole discography of the Beatles?
I did actually.
You did?
I did. Like, this is the thing. The Beatles are probably the only non-rap band. Non-rap. The only band, like British band, that I would say that I at the one point like had an interest.
What
in.
about Pink Floyd?
Never.
Never.
Oh
my god. Wait, did you ever?
Okay, wait. I want to ask you this.
Okay.
So, I don't know how to question or how to phrase this, but UK has obviously its own artist. Like, what do you think is more popular, like the US artists or like your own UK people? Like, who gets more promoted
out in the UK?
Yeah.
Overall,
does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Overall, I would say the US artists get more shine because it's like American rap. It's like pop music in the UK. I mean, it's same like here. It's like the rappers, at least at this point, it's like pop music. You know, I love that I come to LA and I drive around. Everyone's playing hip hop out their cars.
Yeah.
In the UK, it's a bit more unusual, but it's just like a 50 Cent and Eminem, they would top the charts in the UK.
Okay.
It's like the hierarchy would be the American rappers considered the mainstream. When I was younger, like my dad would like Snoop Dogg. You know, my dad drop it's like it's hot. Like my dad, who would not know a single thing about hip hop, he would like sing a bit of Snoop Dogg in the car.
That's interesting.
But like they wouldn't know the first thing about British rappers. Only recently, like literally in the last couple of years, have like British rappers been able to like have number ones in the UK.
Okay.
And
That's
like have big charting records. And like I've always been super into UK rap. It's funny, it's almost like the artists that you're describing earlier when you're talking about being into more indie things.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, the stuff that I thought I'm cool, like know the undiscovered stuff, it was more like underground UK stuff. Because then it's like
you had to be in the know.
Yeah, it's like another level of obscure.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
So, but at the same time, like I would always be interested in both. But yeah, I would say only very recently, I would say that now British culture is beginning to try and put UK artists like above American artists. Now we have heroes like.
That's cool though.
We've got like Central C.
Who's the
like,
dude with the mask?
What's his name?
There are hella people wearing masks in England.
Oh, really?
What's his name?
Yeah.
Adam had interviewed him.
Well, with the octopus mask.
No,
I think so. Or just like this giant gray mask.
It's just a gray mask. He kind of
multiple people do that.
He gives me like
hella people wearing masks in the UK.
Pop
Really?
Smoke vibes.
Oh, man.
It's
with
something
his voice?
I want to say G Herbo, but it's obviously not G
Yeah,
Herbo. It's something like that though.
God damn it!
I can't think
dude,
of
I would
it.
you know what's funny? I would think that by saying rapper with a mask, you would know him immediately. But he's saying there's
Yeah.
so many people that wear masks. That's
I can't
interesting.
think of his
Can
name.
you describe the mask in more detail?
Fuck,
It's just plain like charcoal gray matte.
Yeah.
Matte
M Hancho.
M
Yeah,
Hancho.
there you go,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
See,
fine, he's
G
fine.
Herbo,
Okay.
M Hancho.
There's so many people with masks. That's
Really?
funny. Yeah, he's got the plain grey mask.
Yes.
M Hancho.
Okay.
Yeah, he's decent.
He's
All
really
right.
good.
Yeah, he's like one of these people that's broken through and become like almost like a pop artist. He's
Oh,
got
really?
like radio songs in the UK.
He's super
Yeah, he's
big.
good.
Yeah, so he's become really big. He's kind of like been like releasing less stuff recently,
Yeah.
but I think
He was popping like a couple years back, like 2 years back. That's when my friend sent me him.
I think what happens is like you get a lot of these underground artists in the UK. They're releasing a lot of music, then they come up real fast, and then it's like they get in with the label and it slows down. So
Yeah.
it's like one song. a
Dude, you
year or
notice that
whatever.
all the time. I
Yeah.
hear, bro. For example, Shoreline Mafia, dude. I went to school with a couple of like close friends of the people in Shoreline Mafia in the Hollywood High or whatever, right? And I remember when I got out of Hollywood High in like 2013, I was following these people. Shout out to Retro, he's like one of them, and I remember he would post on his IG story of like him going to Shoreline Mafia music video shoots. But this is like when Shoreline Mafia just like was like starting, before like anyone heard of them. They would get like less than 1,000 plays on Instagram post type shit or whatever. I'd be like watching that thinking like, okay, this is pretty interesting, like these supposed to have a rap group and stuff like that. But then I once they started like blowing up and bubbling, like everyone loved them. They were at their height of popularity. Then you hear they get signed. And they like disappear. There's no new post. There's no album dropping. And then you hear like, oh, they're planning on dropping an album a year and a half from now. And you're like, bro, everyone wants to hear them right now. And like the Shoreline Mafia is one example, but I've seen it happen so many times.
Like a little Tekka.
Where I'm just like, dude, like as soon as the artist like signs to a label, they get all this money, but then like they just disappear. It's like they're not even there as a personality for their fans anymore. You know what I mean? They just become like this like kind of like godlike figure who just is a millionaire all of a sudden. You're just like, what the fuck? Like,
well, this is the messed up thing. I feel like labels really do ruin a lot of things, and I think it's because they're treating these artists like investments. You know, they basically buy 10 artists, you know, buy them into deals, put them into deals, whatever you want to call it, and then essentially it's sort of like, well, they're only counting on 1 or 2 of them being the big hits that are going to recoup for everyone else. And if that's the case, 8 or 9 of them, they literally don't care at all whether or not there's any music coming out. They don't care about the fan base. If they've got a Juice WRLD, for example, okay, whether or not they're alive or not, but like they've got like a big artist that they know that they can get platinum albums out, top 10, whatever.
They're not going to care about the other artists.
They don't care about
the label and shit.
The Tekka or the Shoreline. I'm trying to think who else it's happened to.
That makes sense.
But like, I think it's kind of messed up because, but at the same time, I also feel like people have to know what they're getting into. Like, artists sign these deals, and then it's like, oh man, the label, like, they're not treating me right. And it's like, yo, we've heard a million people talk about how labels don't treat you right. Like, if you're going to take the check from a label, they might shelf you. Like, that's the risk you're taking.
Exactly.
And don't be done with the money they're giving you. Like,
you either have to
I
be
feel like
you have to be like a willing, almost like type industry plan type person where you're like, I know my music ain't that poppin'. I know I don't have a huge fan base.
I know my part.
But these people are giving me a lot of money to do this thing. Okay, I'll do it. But then also, if you are like an artist who, like, for example, was like on some XXX Tentacion shit where you have like a cult fan base, people who support you no matter what, you have all these numbers, it's like the ball is only in your court. The ball is not in their court at all, because all the millions they're offering you, if you just ignore them for 10 years, you're going to have that times 3. You know what I mean? Or times 5 or whatever it is. It's just like the ball is 100% in your court. And like, you have to look yourself as an artist where you're like, if I genuinely have something popping and blowing up right now, it's like you have to be willing and have the fucking the self-control enough to be like, I refuse the million for right now just so I can have 10 million 3 years from now of like money I don't have to pay back, and, you know, or, you know, be in debt for, or whatever it is.
I think those are the big success stories now. Like, now people are looking at people like Russ and being like, fuck, he stayed off a label for X amount of time, kept his whole catalog, and now, you know, you see Russ like flexing his like, what's the name of the thing, the music service where he uploads his stuff.
I don't know. I've never heard of it. I haven't heard a single Russ song in my life.
But this is the thing, bro. Like, you know, a lot of people haven't, but he is making millions a month.
Which is crazy,
just
right?
because he's got his own concentrated fan base, independent, built that all himself. And it's like, now that's the success story rather than, oh, this guy convinced a label to give him $3 million.
Dude, honestly, that's the one big thing I've kind of like realized, and I feel like a lot of people wouldn't have this perspective if they, you know, weren't in a certain shoes. But working with No Jumper and like being a part of No Jumper for the past 5-6 years, I really realized that like when I was first, you know, getting into this like more deeper hip hop stuff, I thought that like you had to be like in skateboarding, for example, you have to be like a Nigel Houston, you have to be like some Tony Hawk type figure to be making the millions and be living some lavish lifestyle. But then in the hip hop world, I realized, like, through working through No Jumper and like finding out about all these different artists and seeing them in person, I realized like you don't have to be the dude that's known by everyone. You know what I mean? Like, you can literally have your own little pocket fan base that really fucks with you. You can have like 10,000 followers on Instagram and be making $300,000 a year plus, and like no one's ever gonna hear of you, no one's ever gonna know you. But guess what? You're living a nice, comfortable lifestyle. You have a fan base that supports you, and it's probably gonna continue, you know, for however long, most likely indefinitely. Who knows?
That's the ironic thing, is like the most famous people and the people that are getting pushed the most, they're probably only getting 13%. If that, of their sales, right? The label's putting all this money behind them. They're expecting that back, plus some. And, you know, every executive involved in their career's got to get a payday as big as the rapper, or whatever it is. So it's like, the most famous people probably aren't even netting the kind of money that maybe an independent is netting all by themselves. But it's they get the most shine because they get to be part of this deal. And you make that trade-off, like you make a deal with the devil of like, okay, I'm going to sign to the label. I'm going to keep a fraction of the amount of money the music's going to make. And like, I'm gonna not own my masters, but they're gonna put me on a bunch of billboards, and everyone's gonna know. You
think it's an ego thing? Because, like, for example, like with Puya, you know, and Fat Nick, it's like they have done their own thing and like independent type thing for a long time, but you don't see them on academics. You don't see them on like, you know, a lot of social media posts. You don't see them on any like YouTube videos really, but they still are successful. They still have their fan base, but I feel like they know that like that's what they're trading off. Like when you want to be one of those artists that everyone's talking about, you have to give that trade of like 13% of my income is gonna go to this company now, you know.
And they're making the music they want to make. You know, they're putting out the stuff that they think is good when
Exactly.
they want to do it. If you're working with the label, you're gonna have to convince 10 lame dudes in a boardroom that this is the single.
Those videos like Bobby Shmurda dancing on the table, I'm like, this is real.
That
Seems like a meme.
That video, like, what's the polite way of putting this? So a lot of people had a lot of spicy things to say about that video, and I think that realistically, it's just like, you know, he is dancing for a check in that video, and I kind of respect it because he got his check. But what happened? He did his 6 years in jail or 7, whatever it was. Came out and he's complaining about the label. He's saying, "Why aren't you letting me drop?" And the stuff. Basically, it's funny. Like Bobby Shmurda came out of jail. Rowdy Rebel also came out of jail, right? Yeah. I don't think Rowdy Rebel was completely independent, but whatever his situation was, he was in a position where he could just like put out a bunch of music, get it going. It seems like Rowdy Rebel's career had taken a much more upward trajectory than Bobby's did, because Bobby's beefing with the label and having these issues.
Dude, they should have been at that point in Bobby's career. They should have been dancing on the table for him. You know what I mean? Like everyone was on Bobby's side. Everyone wanted music for him. Everyone loved him. They should have been like, he should not have been dancing on the table for people to try to like him. They should have been dancing on the table for him to try to be like, let us be the company that works with you, please God. You know what I mean? Like
it kind of reminds me of that part in the Kanye documentary where he's like playing his music for like everybody in the office at the label, just trying to like get his shit heard, and like everybody's like liking it, but there's like they can't really do anything. It's like that one person like that can make that that life change.
I guess it's just like we're now in a generation, you know, I've come up on YouTube, which I'm very grateful for. I've not had to work with any big companies to do that. Obviously YouTube's an enormous company, but the way it's set up is it's its own ecosystem. You make your own stuff.
You're pretty independent.
If people like it, you succeed and you make some money off of it.
Yeah.
But you know, you've got guys like Kanye. He came up in a time where that wasn't really an option to be independent. You couldn't actually distribute 1 million CDs on your own. That just physically isn't possible. Now I can do 1 million views. Like imagine, you know, if I was a filmmaker, documentary maker in the 90s making like the beef DVDs, the hip hop beef DVDs, no way could I distribute like one of my videos, like my Chicago video, to 2 million people. You know, it just isn't possible. So I can only function in this current system, and it's like independent rappers, you know, they wouldn't have been able to exist in that old system. And now things have changed. Obviously the labels are scared. They want to try and keep their little thing, because why would someone give a label 85% of their hit song for nothing now when you don't need to?
What do you think? Oh, okay. I have a couple questions I have on my head, but first thing I want to ask, because I've been thinking about this for the past like 5 minutes. In Russia, like I keep up with like, you know, Russian culture a little bit, like by watching, you know, Russian YouTubers, and whenever I visit my parents, I see them watching Russian TV and stuff like that. And just my whole life watching Russian TV, I've noticed this trend of whatever is popular in America as for like reality shows, TV shows, challenge shows, music. Russia is like, they're on the ass of American culture. They really want to be like, they love American culture, and they always try to like replicate it. They'll have the same reality shows, they'll have the same challenge shows or whatever it is. And now I'm not sure if you ever seen it, looked into any Russian rappers, but there's a lot of Russian rappers in which they're copying like there's I forgot his name, but there's this dude who's copied the whole Rio de Young OG flow, but in Russian. You know what I mean? So he's rapping in Russian on like this other beat that sounds like a Rio de Young OG fucking beat, but it's all in fucking Russian. And it's like, he's never lived his lifestyle. He's never done any of these things. He doesn't really understand it, but he's just doing it because he likes it and he thinks it's popular. And for me, it's like, as a person, you know, who's, you know, Russian, I'm like, oh, this is just Russia seeing what's popping in America, and they're copying the thing. Do you think that's what's going on in the UK, or do you think there's like actual like genuine, you know, shit going on behind the music, where it's like actual, like this is like some organic growth, or this is them just seeing what's popular in America and just copying it?
I mean, I think that like it's an interesting situation, because I think historically the UK has always copied the US massively. Not necessarily in every case, but we'd have always tried to be like the US, because the US rap market has always been the biggest market. I think only in the past few years, with the rise of UK drill, which, let's be real, is derivative of Chicago drill, but it's become its own thing. And like
now New Yorkers are copying UK drill, which is like such a weird backwards thing.
Like kind of in 2016 they were taking sounds from the UK, and it's really it's more like UK production, like UK drill producers, like big producers like Ghosty or like M1 on the beat, who have created this sound that has kind of gone other places. So I think UK like recently has really found its own sound, And now it's like it's the only time that I think people have been able to
developing
chart.
it's like its own culture almost.
Yeah.
It's like it's not just copying or whatever. That's how I feel about Russian rap. I'm like, it doesn't actually have its own culture. It's like all these Russian fans who like Russian, who like American music, but they can't understand the lyrics.
Yeah.
So they just want some
Make
dude
their
to,
own.
yeah, they want some dude to make it, in his own version where they can actually understand the lyrics, I guess.
I think the UK, it's like it's so hard to overcome the accent. Americans don't want to hear British rappers rap. It's been near impossible to overcome. It's always been the case. Anytime there's a big collab between a US and a UK rapper, people are always hating on it. I remember when Giggs and Drake did the big song, what was it, KMT? And it's like a big Drake song, and everyone's just like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
Giggs? This guy's got the deep voice, he's rapping really slowly. But in the UK, people are like, yeah, like Giggs, like he's the guy.
Oh, really?
This is like a big moment, Giggs on a Drake song.
Wow.
But like the Americans, I've yet to see the Americans really embrace someone. Central C, I would say at the moment, is the closest.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? It's like I feel like when people from the UK sing, you can never hear the accent. Like Leona
Really?
Like yeah, anytime like I hear a British person sing, like you don't hear an accent whatsoever. But when it's rap, yeah, you could really hear it. Do you know who Nico B is?
Yeah,
From the
yeah.
UK?
Oh, so would you say he's a rapper or a singer?
I would say he
He's
was a rapper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
But
surprised you
I'm
hadn't
gonna
heard
say
about him.
because I was gonna ask you guys.
Yes.
I'm a very big fan of Love Island. Do you guys watch it?
No.
No. No.
I mean, it's very big in England.
It is, right?
yeah.
I have
They're
no
like
issue with
huge
that.
celebrities in the UK.
Yeah, sadly they are.
Sadly.
Well, now it's made its way to the US, so now we have Love Island
Yeah?
US.
Season 4.
So now, yeah,
Season
we've
four.
had four.
Dude,
we've had
Rylee-
4 seasons, but it's been in the UK for a long time.
Yeah,
Rylee
it's a
put
huge
me
thing.
on, and I remember when Rylee and I first got together, she was watching Bachelorette and like stuff like that, and
Yeah,
I'd be like,
I love all these
I'd be like
reality
walking
shows.
past the TV like, ugh, dude,
I'm
like I don't want to
dumb
watch
American.
that. But then I saw her watching like Love Island season 2, and it became a thing where every time I walked by, I'm
addicting.
like, yo, wasn't that dude just with her? Why is he kissing her? And, like, I'd be asking all these questions, but she's
so
like,
messy.
she's just like, just sit down and watch it. And I'm just like, all right. And I got to Love Island US, but then as we got to that, we realized Love Island UK is like way bigger.
Yeah, well, I already knew about the Love Island UK, and that's what I started watching first. And then once it came to the US, like a year later, I was like, oh my god, this is so crazy. But this past season, Yuriy and I, with 2 other friends, we started
Split Mode TV, shout out to Split Mode.
we were reacting and recapping the Love Island US
Oh, nice.
season, and somebody sent us Nico B, and he like did a Love Island freestyle.
No way.
And I was like, this is
You haven't
like
heard
so
it?
I haven't heard
fire.
it. No.
It's good.
He's got a couple songs I like, but
Yeah, he's good.
He's not somebody that I would follow along.
But
He's
you
not-
could really hear his accent.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
fully.
Is he
Yeah.
an industry plant?
I don't know. He's not the sort of rapper I would take seriously.
He's
Oh,
very
okay.
very
Rapper.
chill.
He seems. It's like.
He's a comedic rapper almost.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
at least in that's the only
It
song
was
I've heard is
very
the Love
smart.
Island song, where it's like he just trying to be funny the whole time.
Well, the
You
thing
know
is,
what I mean?
I'm really surprised anyone in America would really get it because a lot of his lyrics is like very British references.
Oh, really?
Thank
His
you,
other
Love Island,
songs.
because I get it.
You're understanding it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's cool. Like, I respect what he's doing. It's just like it's not the kind of thing I would like, play in the car. You know
She's
what I'm saying?
fit.
He did teach me one thing. He said,
This bud.
yeah, okay.
I love this
We
bird.
learned about the bird thing, but then also Nico B said, he said, spark up the zoot.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, what is a zoot?
I'll be
Spliff,
the first
bro.
one to
It's a
yeah.
spliff?
It's a spliff, a zoo. Yeah, it's all the same.
He
Bro, we've
said,
got so
I'll
many
be the
words for
first
it.
to zoot or spark the zoot inside this villa.
Yeah, inside this villa.
Yeah, we got so many words for spliff in the UK, man. It's crazy.
Well, okay, zoot is one of them. What's another one?
Oh man, you can put me on the spot. Zoo.
Well, you're saying chicken, and that means girl, right?
Were you trying to be
Chicken
funny
means
with?
girl?
Or bird.
Oh, bird. Yeah,
Yeah,
birds.
bird's a
Like
girl.
girls, birds.
But
yeah,
Rylee said
I
you
see
called
I
someone
thought
a
you
chicken.
said chicken.
chicken.
Maybe you're trying to be
Maybe
funny.
I
said chicks.
misheard.
I
Or
say
maybe
chicks,
it was
you'd say
chick.
chicks.
Oh,
I
chicks.
said
Okay,
chicks.
chicken.
I was like, oh, I think the guys maybe say chicken because the
Instead
girls
of
say
birds.
birds.
That's a new one.
Okay,
man,
birds.
I'm on the spot. I can't even remember all the names of the spliffs. I just remember like
Zoot.
zoo.
I don't know. What do we people call it an L. People call it I guess a split. I don't know.
They say
I can't think of
a girl's fit, he's fit, which means he's hot,
Like
right?
they're peng. you
Like
could
they're
say.
hot?
She's peng. That's the same.
Peng?
Peng. P-E-N-G.
Oh,
Pang.
pang.
She's peng.
Interesting. So what's the definition of pang?
Like hot. Like
That's
she's
exactly what it
fine.
is,
Yeah, she's
I
fine. She's
love
peng.
it.
dude.
Some
Goddamn.
Peng gal.
Okay, I want to mention this as well. You know what I found really frustrating and annoying was the fact that during Disconnected, you were able to pull off like a damn near perfect American accent.
I know, I hate it.
And I could not fucking do a British or UK accent if I wanted to. It's
every time I hear somebody from the UK doing an American accent, I'm like so amazed, like because they're like, "Can I get a cheeseburger with like extra cheese?"
You're like, our shit's
like,
so easy. Their shit's so
I
hard.
try to do their accent and I sound fucking so stupid. Like, "Hello, mate."
Did you practice it beforehand, like in your life? You know, like
Nah, bro. Like we just talking your accents for fun all the fucking time.
Oh
bro.
my god,
So annoying.
But you know what it is? I feel like Americans and this university, because we have I had American friends that came to England to do university. They think they're so good at the accent. Like I don't know about you guys, but it's like I feel like Americans are always like, "Yo, I'm gonna nail this British accent."
I can do
it.
Yeah, hit me with a British accent.
Okay.
I cannot. I cannot.
I don't know what I was thinking about it, but was that good?
You know what I'm saying? I think it's like.
I don't know
Like,
what I was thinking about it, but
Oi, mate, let me.
Well, this is the thing though. I think here's what goes wrong: is it's like you try and put in.
I'm
the
trying
English
too hard,
words.
yeah.
It's like mate, but then it's like the way you say mate it's sort of like Australian. When it's more like mate. Like mate, what we doing, mate? Like what's going on, mate?
okay. Now, mate.
Come on, mate. Like let's fucking go, mate.
Oh, okay.
are you down to
Oi,
smoke?
oi, mate.
Are you down to spark a zoo?
Zoo.
Bro, you know what? I think as well. A lot of the Americans try and do the very posh, like the Queen's posh British accent that no one really talks like that.
Oh,
you know, British
really?
people, like a more working class British person, will just be like, "Yeah, spark the fucking zoot, like let's spark the zoot, mate. Like let's go."
I see.
I got the think because you guys always say think.
That's what we think. Yeah, with an F. Yeah, F-I-N-K. That's what I think.
That's what I first noticed about her.
Think.
When she said, "I think," I was like, "Oh, I love that. I love hearing that."
Think.
Over the UK, we get a lot of shit wrong, but we got the accents.
Yeah,
the
no,
British
you
accent
guys
comes
got
in
the
handy.
accents. Do you guys watch Game of Thrones and stuff?
I don't.
No,
watch
we
Game
asked
of
No,
Thrones.
we asked you
we asked
guys
them last
that.
time.
I don't watch Game of Thrones, sadly.
Bro, do you like incest? Because you're gonna love Game of Thrones.
Do I like incest? I was saying, hey, listen, if your American pornos are anything to go by, you guys love incest.
Okay, wait. So since recently the Queen has died,
Man,
I know you
RIP.
guys were kind of talking about on Disconnected, and
Yo.
you didn't really care, but
Royal Pack just landed.
Royal Pack just landed.
Oh, yes.
Is it gas or
She's
what?
here.
Yeah, we're smoking the Royal Pack
Right.
right
I
now.
have been trying to get into like the royal family shit.
Yeah, what are you trying to
So
get
has
into?
everyone.
I'll talk shit about the royal family.
Wait,
all day
I want to hear
and get
your
sued.
thoughts on the Princess Diana conspiracies.
You know what I'm saying? They say.
Are you able to talk about this?
Word on the street is that the Queen slid on her.
And I think it's true.
Oh my god.
That's what they're saying, and she's not here anymore. You know what I'm saying? So I remember there was a hilarious meme. As soon as the Queen died, there was a meme going around, and it was like a picture of the Queen really sad, and it was like the caption was like, "The Queen on the way to hell, knowing that she's got to like get packed out by Diana straight away."
No, I saw so many Queen Diana memes of them meeting in heaven or them
Bruh.
meeting in hell and shit. I'm
Well,
like,
after the death of the Queen, a bunch of like shorts on YouTube got recommended to me like about the royal family, and it was like strange things that the Queen did during Princess Diana's funeral, and I'm just like, oh shit, like let me dive deep into all this conspiracy.
Look, I'm not 100% convinced that the Queen conspired to have Diana assassinated.
It was
messy,
she was
though.
I'm sure she was juiced on it.
Well,
she was like, yes.
Yeah, she was
Thank
hyped.
God
Yeah,
I
she
hate
was
this bitch.
definitely
Well, look,
relieved.
Diana and her son Charles, who's now the
Yes.
king. Let's
Yes.
all say we've got to say nice things about the king, apparently,
All hail.
Pedo Charles.
because he's in Charles. Because he's in Charles.
Epstein's best friend.
No, that's Andrew. That's his brother.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Bro, you just got sued. Like, no, we got freedom of speech in America. We can say what we want.
Oh yes, exactly.
Back in UK, we haven't got that. But no, so yeah, Diana and Charles, the current king, like they got divorced, right?
Yep.
Which is like, a very shameful thing. So
For
it's
the
like
royals.
it's already like a mark of shame on the family that they would maybe want to deal with.
and there was infidelities, which is probably even more shameful.
Well, most
Yeah.
is on Charles's part, by the sounds of it. Maybe.
Well, no,
But it was both, right?
Diana admitted to like having sex with a security
Because
guard.
Oh, I did hear that.
Because she did find out that he was cheating on her, so she was like, fuck him.
yeah,
Get
exactly.
She had to get the get back. But
Yeah.
she had then moved on and was dating this guy who was, I believe, Dodi Al Fayed, who
Yes.
was the son of the guy that owned Harrods. Big
wow.
family, but like Middle Eastern. Listen, UK, kind of racist.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, I didn't know
okay.
he was Middle Eastern.
Wait,
Yeah.
honestly, I want to
Okay.
talk about this too because growing up in Los Angeles, it's a mixing pot, right? And a lot of my friends, when I was in like a lot of my friends, they were actually just like me, like first generation in America. Like my parents just came from Mexico. My parents just came from this place.
Yeah.
My parents just came from Ukraine. My parents just came from Armenia or whatever it is. Like it's all first generation. And guess what? every single one of those countries that their parents are from, there's only Armenians there. There's only Russians there. So they just don't have experience with other cultures. You know what I mean? Like, and then you come to America, and then all of a sudden your parents just see like, you know, weed smoke and 40s and like all this crazy shit.
Oh, yeah.
They're
Four Locos.
they just they don't know how to understand it. But then, you know, now my parents are like, they understand way more, and they're like, you know, way more understanding. But like it's not this, I wouldn't necessarily describe it as racist because it's so harsh of a word, especially nowadays in America. It's more of just like not being experienced with other cultures, and you're just more learning and getting used to it because you were only surrounded by, you know, your kind or your culture your whole life, and then now you're surrounded by, you know, many other people. So it's like, I could, you know, it's like, I don't know, I've seen that before as well. It's like people say like, oh, Russian families are racist. It's just like they grew up in Russia where everyone is Russian. They've never seen a black person in their life. They've never seen a Mexican person in their life. This is their first time seeing this. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Well, I think in the UK, you know, we've had different waves of immigration. I'm all for it. I think we need to welcome all sorts of people from all over the world.
There's been a whole thing about the like Saudi Arabian or I forgot what specific like culture people are like moving over to the UK where there's been like a lot of conflict about it.
Well, there's lots of different ones over the years, so it's like, I guess maybe like I could be getting this wrong. Sorry if I'm screwing my history, but
no,
we're
all idiots here.
We're talking about like maybe like the 70s. There was like a big wave of people moving over from places like India, a lot of places in Africa. There's a lot of like Nigerian, Ghanaian communities.
Oh, really?
In the UK. Yeah, especially like.
Is it because the UK like traveling rules are lax? Like you could just move there and not have a visa or something?
No, that was like way back in the 70s, and I think a lot of that, again, I don't want to get this wrong, but a lot of it is about like, you know, countries where maybe the UK was involved many years ago with all of our kind of, you know, the British Empire and stuff, like just allowing people in from different backgrounds to work and stuff.
Okay, that
but
makes
then
sense.
Obviously, you know, you've got a lot of older white racist people that, you know, look down on those groups and those communities. That's sort of like one version of like how the UK became a bit more diverse, but then we've got sort of like another version of that, which is sort of like maybe like the 90s and the 2000s, when you had like Britain as part of the European Union, and then the European Union kind of expanding to include a lot of like Eastern European countries, and then you saw a lot of immigration in the UK of people from countries like Poland, Romania, stuff like that. Is it like
a mixing pot at this point? Like, do you feel like it's like, you know?
Well, for a period of time, I felt like it really was, and there's a lot of like, you know, it's a whole thing of like cheap Eastern European labor, you know, like people from Poland coming over and doing the low-skilled jobs
for like work visas and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you know, when I was in school and stuff, I had like Polish friends. I thought Polish people were dope. I went to Poland, like it's fire. But again, a lot of the older racist kind of white people in the UK have this whole thing, and you have it here with the Mexicans of like, they took our jobs.
Yeah,
shit.
exactly.
So we had a big like, they took our jobs type.
Oh,
thing
really?
Going on.
Wow, with
and
the Polish.
It's that vibe that led to Brexit, because it was like kick out the Eastern Europeans, kick out the foreigner kind of vibes.
Yeah.
But the irony is we've done that, and now there's no one to do the jobs. You can't see a doctor because we kicked out all these foreigners we needed.
Really?
But it's, again, we shouldn't have even allowed that election to take place. Like, it's so dumb.
That was like an argument that people have had out here, you know, when you would hear that argument of like, you know, be more strict on the borders and stuff like that. And people would say like, dude, a lot of our, you know, a lot of jobs are actually taken by people who don't even have visas and stuff like that. They keep the country running. It's like, so you're saying they actually did that out there, and you saw a difference where it actually was falling apart?
The whole country's understaffed, bro. And especially since COVID, and it's like, we did Brexit in like 2016, but it's taken so many years, so much bickering to actually enact the legislation. So only in the past couple of years has it been where Eastern Europeans, I'm okay for now, where like Eastern Europeans have actually been kicked out of the country, or like the visas have been allowed to expire, and there's no free movement for people to come back, and the country's understaffed. I mean, you know, me and my girlfriend went on like a trip to like another town in the UK, which is like a real big holiday destination, and so many restaurants were shut, and they were just like, we do not have the staff. Like, we don't have the people.
You see the same thing in all over America right now. Ever since, you know, what's even is funny is I've seen many articles complaining, saying, "Oh, we're short-staffed on doctors, we're short-staffed on nurses." Guess what they did during COVID? They kicked out all the unvaccinated fucking you know, nurse workers, and guess what? Now everyone's unstaffed and people are dying. So, you know, you guys did this to yourselves,
right?
Is that what's like affecting you guys as well? Is like, you know, a lot of these like crazy regulations that are coming into place?
You know what? I don't know too much about that. I'm not sure whether that's affected us. That probably hasn't helped. But really, it was just Brexit. Like, Brexit was literally a bunch of seemingly very misinformed, older, ignorant people. Like, just, the whole country just shot itself in the foot, and now we're just dealing with the fallout. And all the people that campaigned and said, let's Brexit, let's kick out these people, let's get rid of all this regulation, they're now coming up with any excuse to blame all the problems, which a lot of the problems are to do with Brexit, on it's Putin. No. The economy was always going to crash. It was Putin's fault. Well, it's been crashing since 2016. No, it's blame Putin. Like,
do you know what I'm also kind of realizing is like, more recently I've been trying to put in more research into just like not just American politics and what's going on out here, but like, you know, Canadian, Russian, and all this other stuff. And that's the one thing that I keep hearing from people making videos or, you know, it's articles about talking about situations in their countries is they're like, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. We're shooting ourselves in the foot. And I feel like every government is doing this no matter what's going on. I'm just like, bro, like who does this make sense to at any point? It's like the money makers, the millionaires, the billionaires is like, is this who's benefit? Like someone has to be benefiting from these stupid ass rules.
Old people, bro. I think the big clash that's going to happen in the next, like, I don't know, maybe 10 years, it's old versus young, bro.
Exactly.
Because it's these old people with all the money making all these decisions and fucking the poor. We got a lot of stuff going on in the UK that's really messed up at the moment, where they're basically printing money because the pension funds that pay all the old people to not work until they're dead, they don't have the money that they thought they have, and they're just printing money, and that's going to cause more inflation. Yeah, literally, for the young people, but they don't give a shit because all they care about is propping up the old people in their 70s who are rich. They don't have to worry about the fact that young people can't afford housing in this generation.
Yeah, exactly.
They all own homes. They already got their homes.
Exactly. Well, dude, look what happened out here during COVID. They gave everyone, you know, $4,000, like 2 payments of $2,000, and guess what? Now we're dealing with inflation, and then it's just like this is. I was watching videos like literally 2-3 years ago where they were talking. Everyone was so hyped on these fucking COVID payments and these like payment like random $2,000. Everyone was just like, yes, $2,000. Let's do it. Government should give us 5. Government should give us 10, bro. Like I saw so many videos of people saying like, guys, this is like a temporary W, very temporary W that will turn into a long-term L.
Yeah.
And then now 2-3 years later, everyone's bitching about expensive gas prices, expensive food prices. Guess what? It's because everyone was so juiced on this free $2,000. Guess what? We all spend that $2,000 on weed, fucking food, and, you know, gas. It's all gone by now. And now we're just dealing with this giant L. It's just like we have to. I don't know, man. It's like I feel like. It's not just American thing. It's just like a population thing where I feel like 75 or 80% of people just don't look deeply into things, you know, at all.
Bro, at its core, like inflation, they make it all seem very complicated, but it is literally the government is stealing money from your bank account.
Exactly.
They're printing a bunch of money that makes your money worth less, and then they're spending a bunch of money that really should be the value of your own money.
Right.
Like, that's basically what it is. Like they're just stealing your money, and it's like a covert, complicated, like financial system, like systems on top of systems to make it so you can't really understand.
And all really, kind of like stealing. It all. I remember I was watching this like one video where they were talking about how like it all stems from the gold rush, where in the gold rush all these people were moving to California, sifting gold. Everyone was becoming, you know, ridiculously rich basically, and all of a sudden they're charging like, you know, a fucking gram of gold for a cup of water at bars because everyone just has money like that. And I heard at one point U.S. government was like, hey guys, give us your gold and we'll give you these like bill statements that represent how much gold value you have in the bank. And then over time, guess what? These bill statements mean nothing. Just like,
and that's again, it's like people look back and they're like, oh, this was the moment when the financial system was like born, when all the money stopped being backed by gold and it just became a fantasy. And that is the system that has allowed these governments to basically just trick everyone into like having their savings and completely debased and devalued and buying into the system. And no one got a choice. No one got a vote. There was no referendum on like, hey, should we just trade on money that's completely worthless and based on promises rather than actual assets? And it's like, then the whole financial system, they come up with all these systems, like in 2008, like credit default swaps. They're just coming up with these, like conjuring up these things, and it just affects everyone but them.
Dude, I realized this when I got my first, when I was working at Starline Tours, selling tours on Hollywood Boulevard, right?
Oh, yeah.
And have you heard of the company Starline?
I mean, I've heard of it.
It's all over the world. It's like in many other countries and shit like that.
Is that like the guy in you remember the movie Rush Hour? And it's like the guy selling the star maps. Or
it was basically like that, exactly. So I was like one of those people selling not just star maps, but like star tours and shit like that. But I realized that they made the commission structure as complicated as possible, so that the person who's selling the tickets is, unless you're really good at math, you are not going to be able to calculate exactly how much money the company owes you. And it was a constant issue where employees were like, dude, you underpaid me on commission. Like, I just did my calculations. Like, I had a situation in which I felt for a couple months I was being underpaid. And then one day I just sat down for like 3 hours, did all the calculations, took all my receipts, calculated everything, went by their commission structure. And they, like I said, they made it as complicated as possible. So it took me a long time. And I realized they underpaid me by like $350. I took it to my information to the dude, to the accountants or whatever. I'm like, yo guys, you owe me $350. He's like, no way, man. bring back the like your information or however you got to this fucking idea, and I'll talk to you about it. I brought back all the information I had, all the paperwork, all the calculations I had, and then he was like, oh, okay, we'll write you a check for $350. And I'm like, I'm not the only person this has happened to. They purposely do this thing to make it as complicated as possible so you don't get paid the right amount. And it's like, that's not just a company thing. It's like, it's a government thing where they make the laws and they make the regulations as complicated as possible so that us normal folk who are working 9-to-5 jobs, having kids, having love lives, we don't have the time in our days to fucking go research all these terms and all this shit and realize exactly how bad we're getting fucked over, so that's why we get fucked over so bad, because no one has the time to look into it actually and realize what's going on.
Yeah, these they overcomplicate these systems on purpose to make it hard for you to navigate them, hard for you to get what you deserve, and bro, it's just going on to the highest level. It's like, you should be able to see where your fucking tax dollars go. Like, where was the taxes that I got charged? Where did that go? I should get an itemized breakdown.
Bro, I saw this thing about tax dollars in California, and in New York it's even crazier, but California gets damn near almost $1 billion a year just in parking tickets, and people parking in front of fire hydrants, not on the right spot or whatever it is, speeding tickets, and all the tickets that California gives within a year, they earn damn near $1 billion. Where the fuck is this money going, dude? Because all our roads are fucked up. If you look at statistics, California has some of the worst roads in the country.
Got some crazy roads.
Yeah, it's like, dude, where the fuck is all this money going? And then on top of it, that's not including our taxes that are supposed to go to the roads, supposed to go to the schools and all this shit. So it's just money mismanagement is a huge thing. And then also you just see that everywhere. It's just it's so hard to trust someone to be like, hey, Yuriy or whoever it is, it's like, here's $1 billion, distribute this evenly, and you're getting paid $20,000 a year to do this on top of it. So I don't know.
It's messed up, man. It just doesn't make any sense. Yo, I'm gonna use the bathroom again.
Oh,
okay.
yes.
I've been going ham on this.
No.
I know, same.
Honestly, we could wrap it up right now real quick because we've already been going for 2 hours.
Wait,
That's
do we want to
2 hours.
do we want to do the taste test?
I was gonna say
before,
we could do that for the after show.
Yeah, are you down to do the after show?
Well, how does that work?
Okay, so basically, you don't have to do it by the way, but we do
I got nothing else. I literally have nothing else.
And if you
want
to come on too.
Oh yeah, exactly. So we do 10 talks, and then we purposely don't read the chat so we could focus on the conversation.
Okay.
But the after show is when we can actually have the chat up. People could donate for questions
We
or
can
whatever
interact.
it is. We can interact, and then also, guys, I brought a bunch of American snacks / Mexican snacks as well, or just stuff I've grew up with, in my life growing up in LA that I like to eat and Rylee likes to eat, that I feel like Traplo Ross has not tried yet. So we want him to try it. I thought we would do it during the podcast, but we've already been going for 2 hours, and
That's gone by fast. Man.
I know.
I know. So I have many more questions I want to ask, but I feel like we're already been going for 2 hours, so I feel like it's long enough. But either
is
way,
the after show is that still on the same channel?
Same channel, cool. But
it'll be privated after.
We used to be able to do it on the same stream and just cut it out through YouTube, Studio. But I'm not sure if you know, but YouTube Studio has had an update where you can't cut it out anymore. It has to re-upload this as a new video. So whatever views we got during this stream no longer count. It becomes re-uploaded from 0 views. So it's I don't like doing that because it's not beneficial at all. So I would just end the stream and restart a new stream. But either way, we're going to end this right here. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Shout out to everyone who watched this. If you guys can, please leave a like. Please leave a comment. Please leave a subscribe.
We're almost at 25K.
Yes, we're almost at 25K. Huge shout out and thank you to Traplo Ross for coming through, because we just met each other during Disconnected, and it just felt like, I don't know, we just had some chill conversations. You're normal chill guy or whatever.
We had more to talk about.
Yeah, we had a lot more to talk about, and I asked you to come through, and I'm super grateful that you were down to do this.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's been really fun. I'm down for anything and everything.
Let's do it, man. Thank you so much, man. Once again,
appreciate you, bro.
Thank you so much,
Thank
man.
you so much.
All right, like, comment, subscribe, guys. We'll go live again in 5-10 minutes. So